I'm waiting on. We're about to be live in a second here, and wait for it to go.
Now, should I have YouTube open in a separate window? Does that matter? I've never done
If
that.
you as long as you have it muted, that's fine. But that's having it open is the only way you're going to be. Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah, I have to mute mine, so you'll have to mute it, and then you can make comments through there on the live chat.
Okay. Let me check that out.
So, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you all joining me this evening. Those that are in the live chat, I will start out by identifying some folks, and then we'll get into this. So, we got Flip and the Blue Mule. I haven't even started to throw anything back yet. Got Throttle Fiend in the house, Mr. McStash, and I got a couple of my guests here in the live chat too, and they're also guests on the screen. Dr. Harley and UCM Pigs. And we also, let's see, is that what we have right now? And Be the Rider PA's in the house. Appreciate it. Dead Knots in the house, or was. Thank you. Appreciate it again. So those in the live chat, some of you, most of you, if I found you on Instagram, I sent you the StreamYard link. Here we go. And we have another guest. Mr. Jared Weems is in the house. Appreciate you joining me, brother. Can you hear us loud and clear? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Jared, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
I'm here somewhere.
With us too.
There I am.
Jared, can you hear us?
There I am. Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I'm late. I'm trying to entertain and
no, Jeremy, you are not late at all. I appreciate it just for joining. Evil Rick's in the house. Thank you.
What's going on, fellas?
So, what's that?
Oh, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, Jared, can you hear us loud and clear?
Still nothing from Mr. Weems.
That's all right. Shit. Let me get the private chat going here real quick. We can. There it is. Okay, he's having audio issues. I can't hear y'all.
Guys, hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Good to go? Okay, good. Peaky Biker, appreciate you joining us, man. Thank you so much. Again, everybody in the live chat, thank you. We got 12 in there so far. Make sure you hit that like button. But so, as I was saying earlier, give some background here on what we're doing tonight. I know a couple other people have got the link. Other veterans have got the link, and I sent it to you. If you're a military veteran, and I've said this before, it doesn't matter to me whether you're a military veteran of tonight is for what is U.S., but if you're Canadian, if you're UK, whatever, you want to jump in here at the live stream, please hit me up and Instagram, and I'll send you the link. But the story of this is that my son had is in a veterans studies program at his college, and he sent me he asked me if he could do a veteran interview with me. He had to do it for an assignment. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And long story short, we did the interview, and he put the questions all together, and they were really not good questions. They were really good questions, insightful. They were not invasive. They weren't prying for, clearances and all that kind of junk like a journalist or something. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take these questions and use some of these, modify them a little bit, and see if we can't host kind of a veterans thing so people can get to know us as veterans. So what I'll do is, McStash, I'll send you the link in just a second. But what I'll do is we'll go around the room. We'll start with Doc Harley. And let me get over here. We're going to kind of start with introductions. So what I'd like you to do is just hold off on the military stuff initially. Go ahead and start with Doc Harley and introduce yourself and who you are and what your channel is.
All right, everybody. I'm Dr. Harley. My channel's a lot about a lot of how-to, step-by-step installations, product reviews. I go to a lot of rallies. I record a lot of the rallies, sometimes some bike nights, and very little moto vlogging. I'm really not into the moto vlogging as much as I thought I would. But the majority of my channel is in the shop, installing products, talking about the products. Most of the products I've purchased, and very few have been given to me, and I am transparent when it's given to me as a gift or sponsored or I paid for it.
That's pretty sweet. Go ahead, UC Pigs.
Oh man, I'm sorry, I was typing.
No, you're good. I'm sending the link out to people still. You're good.
Yeah. So my name's Sean. I just have this little. I've been doing this for about 2 years. My channel main name means absolutely nothing. I struggle with that, but I'm not going to change it because it does have a little bit of meaning to me. But you know, I'm just a Yahoo with a camera and a motorcycle, man. I do all kind of crazy stuff. I got my vlogs. Started doing recently some kind of not really. I don't want to call it installs because a lot of people, you know, think plugging in a light bulb is an install. But you know, doing stuff like, you know, I just did my stator and did some brake fluid flushing and just stuff that, you know, by no means am I a mechanic, and I don't want anybody to, you know, take my word as gospel, but just kind of show people, you know, that's half the fun of owning these machines is working on them. You know, a lot of people right now got them put away, so go out and show it some love. Do some wrenching on it. Get that shop manual, learn about it. But you know, I'm just here to have fun. But yeah, 20 years in the Navy, retired as a chief petty officer. Been pretty much around the world. Spent a lot of time with you guys, Toby. I'm no stranger to the Army. Spent 3 years in Lawton, Oklahoma at Fort Sill. And then I did 8 months in Kabul, Afghanistan, assigned to
I don't want to
ISAF
cut
10.
you off, but hang on for me real quick because we'll get into that stuff. So
all right, cool. But yeah, just a dude that just likes having fun, man.
I appreciate that. Jared, go ahead, man.
Are you saying Jared Weems?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry, Weems. Go ahead and introduce, you know, yourself and leave the military out for the moment, but introduce yourself and your channel.
Sure. So everybody knows me as Weems. Usually, the only people that call me Jared is my wife and my mom.
My bad.
No, that's all good. It goes back to the military thing with me. But no, yeah, I'm a custom bike builder in Tampa, Florida. Focus all of my stuff on the vintage British bikes, really particular to 1962 and earlier Triumphs.
Right on. I'm in St. Petersburg right now.
Hey, good old Florida.
I'm in Ruskin.
I'll be
Why
flying
are we all
back-
here in the same house?
I'll be flying back on Sunday. So.
Go ahead, Raider World.
All right, man. Yeah, so Raider World, I started the channel back in, 2020. I was laid up in the hospital, and I was, you know, just got hit on my bike, and I'm like, am I still going to ride, or, you know, what am I going to do? And, you know, with 3 boys, one on the way, I'm like, you know what? You just can't stop doing what you love. So I figured, hey, I'm going to get a bike, but I'm going to get the biggest bike I can get, the brightest bike you can get. So I got the Red Road Glide, and, you know, I was watching YouTube videos. And I'm like, man, I could do this. This would be fun. You know, I didn't have any pictures or any videos of my previous bike. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to video everything. I'm going to just take pictures of everything. That way my kids can see it. If something was to ever happen, my kids can go back and watch my channel and watch Dad work on his bike. So, but yeah, I started that, and yeah, just went from there, man. Just had fun with it. I go overseas a lot, so it's kind of hard to keep up all the time with stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, man. Just have fun with it and get to meet people.
Please check your YouTube. I think somebody has a hot mic, but you don't have to mute it right now. But I'm hearing some background noises. Peaky Biker, go ahead, man. Tell us about yourself. Like I said, leave the military experience alone for the moment. We'll get there.
So, just to let you guys know, obviously, I'm from the UK. So, if you guys have ever watched a program called The Peaky Blinders, have a look at that. Have a look at that, and that's where I'm from. That's where my name's from.
Birmingham.
So, yeah, well, just north of Birmingham. So yeah, that's where I'm from. So I'm slowing the speech down a lot at the moment, so you guys can understand me. But yeah, spent a fair few years in the British Army doing reconnaissance, but evolved my bikes over the years, and I've got my YouTube channel 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and yeah, just embracing the community on YouTube, and just coming from across the front as it's 1:45 in the morning here.
Oh yeah. So, you are not held to anything. Again, if anybody has to go, or, those are in the live chat, if you're veterans and I've invited you, like I said, this is extremely flexible. You stay as long as you can, come in when you can. I appreciate you even coming in and joining in this. So, excellent. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, Peaky, were you done? Okay. Go ahead, Exan. Just leave your channel information. Just tell us about your channel and all that stuff. Leave your military information alone. We'll get to that.
All right. I am XAN biker, born and raised Southern Illinois. Got me a YouTube channel, just over 200 subscribers now.
Congratulations.
So, and it's only been right at a year. But some of you I've talked to, 2 of you I've met in person, Toby and Jared. But I met Toby and Jared the same day at the unveiling of the autism bike there in Louisville.
Good stuff. Throttle Pin, go ahead. Tell us what your channel is, and just keep, like I said, the military out it for a moment.
Okay, so Throttle Pin, aka Derek, started riding going on 5 years ago. Wanted something to, as I apologize, I was in the middle of eating. The first gentleman that spoke, like you said, about putting bikes away and stuff. I actually rode my wife's bike to the dealership today, 60 miles. So it was nice to get out there. A little chilly here in Western New York, but pretty much as long as there's no snow and ice on the roads, I will ride. Believe that. So, yeah, just wanted to do something to, like you said, if anything happens to me or something down the road, kids, grandkids, whatever, me, because I can't tell you what I had for breakfast this morning. If I forget and I want to relive a moment in my life, I can go back and watch. I've been a part of so many different communities. I am I collect freaking hobbies, like people collect Harley chips, dealership chips, and I have to admit the motorcycle community has been the best one I've ever been involved in. It's absolutely phenomenal, and to that vein, I've wanted to give back. So every time I reach a milestone so far, I'm at 430 subscribers, but basically every 100 subscribers I do a giveaway, and just I want to get out there and ride. I do have to admit that I believe it was you, Dr. that or somebody else, that I'm not so much about the motovlogging anymore. I still want to do it, but I'm more about getting my thoughts out there. If it happens to be on a bike, great. Anybody who's watching my channel recently know that it hasn't had an upload in a while, but I'm hoping to change that real soon, maybe even as soon as tomorrow, because I'd really like to do a video for Veterans Day. And thanks for having me, Toby. And great seeing you all. Zan, I believe I met you. I'm not great with names, but I believe I met you because I was actually at the the autism raffle. So, and Jared, thank you for your amazing work on that bike. Absolutely phenomenal.
So right now we have 7 or 8 of us in here, folks. So again, I know there's some other veterans in the live chat. If you want to join, if you're a veteran, shoot me a link. Or shoot me an email, or good Lord, text me on IG, and I'll send you the link for it. Aside from that, we'll go ahead and get rolling with this. So first of all, I'm going to ask everybody just general questions, and we'll just go round robin, take turns back and forth. I would just ask, some of these questions, if you don't feel comfortable answering them based upon your military service and that kind of thing, that is totally fine. If there's anything you don't want to talk about as far as that goes, just say that's cool, no issue, and pass or whatever, and we'll leave it at that. Okay. So we'll start with the first question. So we'll start with Peaky Biker this time. Growing up, did you have any military in your family? Anybody that influenced your thought of joining?
To be honest, I wouldn't say my dad was in the army, but he didn't influence me to go in the army. So a lot of my family are from Scotland. Obviously, we're living in England. It's not very far, but no, not really. He never pushed me or anything like that. My story is probably quite similar to a lot of the people as far as I know, within the UK. So, especially within the infantry, you get into trouble. You get sent to court, and then you can either go to prison or you join the army. So, at least in the army, you're free. That's the route I take, and to be honest, it completely changed my life completely. So, but as far as anybody forcing me or pushing me or anything like that in the family, then no. Like I say, my dad was in the Scot Guards, but he never forced me into it or anything like that. But yeah, man, I like I say, it changed me as a person and changed my life completely.
I've got that in the questions as well. We're gonna get, like I said, these questions. Like I said, my son was very insightful in these things, and I'm proud that he did these. And I just had to do this to try to share some stuff. So,
100%, mate.
Derek, go ahead. Anybody in your family, any family members influence you, or any in the military?
I wouldn't necessarily influence me. My father was drafted. He was infantry mortarman. Ended up with a Purple Heart. My grandfather on my mother's side, my grandpa Fisher. Oddly enough, I did boot camp at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Those huts that were built, they're basically like U-shaped buildings, but upside down. The metal ones. When we did our NBC training, where we went to the gas chamber, I found out that after World War II, when my grandfather, he was in during World War II, but he actually helped build those barracks. So that was kind of cool. And then my step grandfather was also in as well. But my dad always, said, "Hey, you get 3 huts in a cot. It's not a bad life if you know what you're doing." And I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't know what for. Most importantly, I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. So if you knew me and saw me the day I met my recruiter at the mall, I was actually at the mall to pick up new sneakers. If you told me I was going to meet an Army recruiter and decided to join the Army, I would have told you you're out of your mind. But I know this question is coming, but I'll just say it's basically one of the best decisions I've ever made. But no pressure from the family.
All right. Go ahead, Mike. XAN.
Yeah, my grandfather on my grandfather on my mom's side, he was a sergeant major, 30-year veteran. He got in at the tail of World War II. He was in during Korea, and he was in during Vietnam. And yeah, he went in at 18. He had 3 Purple Hearts. He got shot in the back once, stabbed in the back once, and stabbed in the neck. But he got a Purple Heart for each of those. And from my understanding, he was in combat, he was a tunnel rat. He only stood 5'2". So yeah, over in the jungle, And then my dad was in the Army. He served most of his time over in Germany. He was the MP. And then
So he's a monkey.
yeah. Yeah, he spent most of his time with a briefcase connected to his wrist. He was a courier.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then me, when I went in, I ended up working on air conditioning. Yeah, I went in. I did utility equipment repair.
Okay. James, how about you?
So yeah, my grandfather was he joined at 17 years old and went to World War II in the Army Air Corps and stayed in when they changed over to the Air Force and ended up retiring in 1969 from the Air Force. Outside of that, my uncle was in the Army for a short amount of time, but that's about it.
Sweet. You seeing pigs? Go ahead.
I had to find the unmute button. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm a true Jimmy Buffett song. I'm a son of a sailor, and my dad did a couple years in the Navy, trying to avoid the draft. You know, he wasn't a draft dodger, but he had an uncle in the Air Force that said you need to get down and join the Navy before you graduate and get drafted. So he joined the Navy back then. You could join between your junior and senior year, and then go to boot camp. And then as soon as you graduate, of course, Vietnam era, he was activated and did his Vietnam tour in wonderful Puerto Rico. So I got to grow up listening to his stories of running around Puerto Rico, and I said, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think I want to do that. And but yeah, pretty much every man in my family has served. My grandfather on my mom's side was, as Weems was saying, he was Army Air Corps, became Air Force, retired as a Chief Master Sergeant. So yeah, we've got a pretty long history. So it was just the right thing to do. I'm not a college guy. I knew it was either furniture factory or Navy, and I think I made the right choice.
So you did too. So Doc, we'll go with you next, and Raider, you're next after him.
All right. Nobody really influenced me growing up. You know, I always played Army as a kid. My father was Air Force. Both my uncles were Air Force, and I always loved the Army growing up as a kid because that's what I always played. And so nobody influenced me. As a matter of fact, a lot of my family tried to discourage me to join the Army, and I proved them all wrong. And you know, it was the best thing for my life. It made me who I am today, and I don't regret not one moment of my service.
Okay. Raider, go ahead.
All right, yeah, man. So, yeah, nobody in my family ever joined the military until after I joined. Yeah, so I think my brother was my first one who gave me my first G.I. Joe. I was like, oh man, these are cool. So I just started collecting them, and I'm like, man, I want to be like these guys. They look cool. So yeah, 2001, that was it, man. But yeah, nobody in my family ever served, and you know, I thought it'd be cool, and I'm glad I did.
Thank you for setting the trend, man. Starting a trend there.
Yeah.
So the next kind of question, it kind of rolled into that one. And for those that just joined, thank you for joining us, Des. Riding on 3, the words coming by and sticking in the live chat and hanging out with us. And again, like I said, this is us just asking some questions about everybody in the live chat, and you're welcome to add in as well. But this is just getting to know all of us as veterans, you know, what kind of influenced us, what motivated us, that kind of thing. So with the one about growing up in the military, did you have any family that were military? What would you say your major influence? So what was your major influence on joining the military? What was it that made your deciding factor? And this time we'll go with Doc. Start with you.
Major influence for me to join the military. Like I said, I always played Army as a kid. At the time when I was in high school, I knew I wasn't ready for college.
That was me.
I work out of college. I've been there 22 years, and I do have my bachelor's degree. You figured after 22 years of free tuition, I should have 3 doctorates by now. But I'm not a classroom person, but I enjoyed being in the military. I enjoyed what I did, and life is the best educator. I've learned more in the military, seeing the world, than I ever did in any book.
True.
So, the major that was, and of course, watching movies was a big influence.
I heard you say you like watching boobies.
Movies, well, boobies too.
I'm just making sure.
Well, boobies. Who doesn't like?
I mean, I heard everybody does that, but I mean, I that's a different line of education. So
Yeah, right. No, yeah, that's a different chat.
Go ahead, UCM Pigs. What was the major thing? I think you mentioned a little bit of it, but go ahead and expand on what influenced you to join.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of it was listening to my dad's stories. Like I said, also, I grew up in Mississippi, and not really a lot there for a young man, but trouble. And I was smart enough to get out of that. So I think the biggest reason I picked the Navy was I didn't want to get shot at, man. So, I kind of like the white uniform, the 3 hot meals a day, hot showers, air conditioning. That's not too bad, man. Got to see places, And then, again, I hope I'm not jumping ahead here, Toby. It got me. Like I said, it got me. I ended up, 3 weeks at Fort South Carolina, Fort Jackson, going through an Army boot camp at my 17-year mark, and got sent over to Afghanistan. So it caught up to me. But
of course.
But yeah, that was my biggest influence, man. I didn't want nothing to do with no camouflage. I don't need to hide from nobody.
No worries, Be the Rider. Thank you for joining us. Be safe and happy Veterans Day to you. Enjoy it. Go ahead, Williams.
So kind of my story was I had just gotten engaged to my wife, and I was looking for benefits, and so joined. I happened to be sitting in the MEP station right before I walked in to pick my MOS, and President Bush came on the TV declaring war on terrorism, and I was like, oh crap, what did I get myself into? Yeah, I mean, so as far as influence, man, it's literally I joined to get a paycheck, and I was a drill sergeant for a couple of years, and I used to ask my soldiers all the time. It's like, I'd ask them, why did you join the Army? And they're like, because I wanted to serve my country. And I said, so what you're saying is I can have your paycheck, right? They'd be like, no. And I'm like, we all joined for a job. We all joined for a paycheck. There's just different benefits, and it is an honor to serve your country. But yeah, I mean, I joined for the paycheck and the benefit.
Nice. Raider, go ahead.
Let's see. So as a kid, I moved around a lot, and grew up without a dad. I know my brother he was into trouble, and because he was a lot older than I was. I was the youngest out of my family, so and there was a big age gap. So there wasn't hanging out with any sisters or hanging out with any brothers because they were a lot older than I was. So I was pretty much by myself. It was just me and my mom, and we moved around a lot. And I know I grew up in Miami. Hurricane Andrew came, destroyed our house, so we had to move again. So we ended up in St. Pete, and so it was just one of those things. It's like I needed structure in my life. Growing up without a dad and having nobody to tell me what to do. My mom tried to tell me what to do. I always respected her, but I still got into trouble. I played a lot of football, so I did have I had a scholarship to go to University of Miami, but I was still getting into trouble, and that's what got me. So I got into trouble, and the recruiter came knocking on the door, said, hey, would you, you're a good kid. I'm sure you can change. Would you rather join the Marine Corps or would you rather go to jail? And I said, no, sign me up, man. So, yeah, I figured, I always liked the military. Growing up, I always watched Western movies. I had a black and white TV, tiny little black box that I used to watch, and I grew up watching Western movies, and I was like, man, that seems interesting. So I like the military, but obviously I wanted to go to college, and that didn't work out. But I'm still glad that I went down the road that I did. Everything happens for a reason, and that happened for a reason. That was it.
So, Peaky, go ahead. But before you do, just so you gentlemen know, if I mute you, it's only because I'm muting all between people's talking, so that the background noise of anybody's is there, not interfering, overpowering the person talking. So, but Peaky, go ahead. Your turn. What was your major influence? I think you spoke of it a little bit when you started introducing yourself, but go ahead.
So,
go ahead. What?
Yeah, so me and him next to me, we've got kind of quite similar events that happened in our life. So, at 16, I was doing things that we shouldn't be doing. Within the UK, it was, at the time, it was pinching cars. So we'd pinch cars to, fund, smoking weed or buying alcohol or showing off or whatever you wanted to do with your money at the time. So I got caught basically. That says, you're 16, so you're either going to go to juvenile prison or the only other option is you join the military and this, that, and the other. But you've got to pass certain criteria. But I didn't go to school, so I wasn't very good at reading. I wasn't very good at writing. Ended up finding out later I was dyslexic. So fortunately for me, I ended up having to go into prison for a little bit. But the person who got me out of prison fortunately was my dad's friend. So he ended up helping me out on the touchscreen test, because it was a touchscreen at the time. So it was a touchscreen test, and he ended up helping me, and I joined the army. And to be quite frank, like I said earlier, I'll never look back. It was absolutely amazing times. If I had to join the army, then, if I'm being brutally honest, I'd have been in and out of prison till the day I am now, if I'm being brutally honest, because the area I live in, the area I live in ain't great, like, and it's just the circumstances that, and the people you grow up, and the people you attract, or they attract you. So, I'm quite fortunate that, I ended up being able to join the army and actually move away straight away. So for like 3 years, I was in Northern Ireland, and Northern Ireland ain't a great place, but I knew being back here wasn't any beneficial to me, if that makes sense. So it's and then that's how my career kind of started. It was just on a wing and a prayer, really. It was just right people, right time, stepped in at the right areas, and could you taking a selfie? You could have told me. I could have got my turkey teeth in.
Sorry, I had to.
Some people have parole officers and they have to justify. Yeah, I'm here at this time. I haven't left the country.
Mate, me and you text the other day. Me and Toby text the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, what time is it there?" And I was like, "Yeah, this time, it's this time." He was like, "Yeah." And then
for the gram.
I've been on Rev Bombs live. Me and Stevie, the miniature bikers, that are live. It's like 1:30 a.m. now. I'm absolutely steaming drunk, tired.
So before I go to XAN, I'll ask a quick question that Trippin, I think it was Trippin. Yeah, Trippin Trikers asked the live chat, and some people have already answered it. Quick show. Anybody been in more than one branch of service? I know I haven't. I was technically in the reserves and active duty, but still in the Army.
So you got me muted, or you can hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. So I went because I started contracting, because the job I had, they weren't offering reservists for my job. So I did go National Guard to go to SF, and I got out in 3 years and I was done.
Okay.
I was
Anybody-
Army National Guard for 3 years.
Okay.
I was
Anybody else?
Army,
Double?
regular Army for 10 years. I did 15 years Connecticut National Guard. Retired. Love it. Can't wait to collect my pension.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, so
it
you
was a
had-
big
you
pain
did the
trying to
National
come
Guard,
back
that
and
piece
make up
of it.
time. Yeah.
So because the National Guard piece, that portion of a pension you can't collect until you hit retirement age. Is that right? Like the reserves?
Well, I have qualifying periods, which means it allows me to collect earlier. So instead of waiting till I'm 60, which is mandatory age retirement, I can collect at 58.
Okay. So XA, go ahead. Did you what was your major influence for joining?
To get out of the little small community that I lived in. I mean, where I went to high school, it was a public high school, but I graduated in top 20 in my class. But the thing is, there's only 19 in my high school graduating class. You know, I mean, I live actually smack in the Shawnee National Forest. And I'm like, okay, we got hills, hollers, woods and stuff around here. I can make it in the Army. And I did. And it's just something I loved. And I mean, no disrespect to people from the city, but I had fun making fun of them.
Okay, so wait a minute. XAN says that, but I got to call you out on this Navy cop because Navy alone for me didn't want to have to learn all your weird ass ranks. I'm sorry, but I think the Navy wins the award out of the branches for having all the weird ass ranks.
No.
Hold on.
You guys and all your 2 types of NCOs and all this crazy stuff. We have 1 NCO, man. You make E4. You guys got all this craziness going on.
Hold on. I got one question for XAN and all the Navy guys. Why did the Navy start the Marine Corps? They needed a men's department.
I heard that one more than once when I was on recruiting duty. So yeah, that's, you know the story with the 13 buttons, right?
No, let's hear it.
Sure. We wear a pair of trousers that have a flap in the E6 and below. They're dressed the Cracker Jacks. You got the flap with the 13 buttons. That's a Marine tablecloth.
Well, you know why the Navy and Marines put the name on over the back pocket? So they know who they're looking at.
So on that note, Derek, go ahead. What was the major influence for joining the military?
Like I said before, I didn't do real well in high school. I didn't hit my stride till I got to college. But basically, I didn't know what I was going to do. I was working full time at a Hess gas station, and I knew I wanted to go to college. I wasn't sure what for, and I didn't know how to pay for it. And when I saw that they were giving out $20,000 for college, which just about makes me cry when I hear what the guys and gals are getting now. I just decided to join, and I've always been very patriotic. Like I said, it runs in my family. My dad was in. Both my grandfathers were in. My dad's actually a retired sheriff for the county I grew up in here in Western New York. And once I finished boot camp, I knew that it was going to be my thing. I actually got out to go green to gold because I want to go back in and finish up my 20, but life had other plans.
Okay. So the next question I had was more of the, what country and branch of military serves, but I think we kind of have that one wrapped up. So we'll go with the next one. And this is where we're kind of getting into the weeds for everybody. And in the live chat, feel free, veterans, to I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to go ahead and add the StreamYard link into the chat. And I would ask for integrity there. If you're a veteran, please feel free, welcome to join. We have a couple more slots. I can have 10 people in here. So, but the next one, as I said, is the kind of getting into it. So this first question of this is going to be covering the service questions. So as we, all right, we've got another contestant here. Hey, Steve-O, military biker.
Hey, it's happening, guys. Good evening.
Sorry,
So
Mr.
you want
Live.
to catch us up real quick? We know you're in Canada, but were you the part of the Canadian force? I don't think so. So tell us who you are and your military stuff real quick.
Oh shit, you're jumping straight into me. All right, fair enough.
Well, just catch you up a little bit. So, like, you know, did you have any military influence in your family, and then what influenced you to join? That just you can answer that stuff because everybody
Roger
else.
yeah, so I'm a fourth generation army guy, basically, and it stems back from when my great grandfather jumped on a boat from Ireland and made his way over to Liverpool in the UK, and at that point he met what would become my great grandmother, and obviously out of that became my granddad. But yeah, Patrick came over from Ireland, and then he went and served, joined up and fought in World War One. Unfortunately, he lost his life over there, but fortunately, he managed to get my great nan up the duff, as we say, before he left. Which then obviously my granddad, when he grew up, then went off to fight the Japanese in Burma. In World War II. So, and obviously my dad after that was in the army as well. So yeah, I've got a lot of military history in my family, and on the other side I had Spitfire pilots in the family, and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like just a thing we do in my family. To be honest, it's even
So you could say you kind of had there was some kind of high expectations for you, or just it was kind of a expected thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was expected. No, it was just something that seems to be in the blood, mate. To be honest, and we are a military family, and we always will be. And I think my kid's 15 now, and he's already talking about joining up and whatnot. So it maybe continue on, so we'll see. But yeah, so those.
If any of your else kids join the military, then you can look right now in the camera at yourself and know that they had an excellent example. I'll tell you that right now. So.
Well, I don't know about that.
So, hey, Buck, thank you for joining. I'll ask you the same thing I did with Steve-O there, since you guys are joining. We'll catch you up. Just real quick, who you are, if you have a channel or whatever, and then what branch you did, or really what influenced you to join, and did you have any military family members? And then we'll get with the rest of it.
All right. Hi, guys. Good to see some of you again. I started my YouTube channel just out of wanting to help inspire people learn to ride. Some of you know behind the scenes, I recently lost my wife, and the dream I started of wanting to start a motorcycle riding school, that kind of went to the wayside. So just a couple weeks ago, I took half of the motorcycles I had down to Forgotten Angels and left them with them as a donation to help them with their charity stuff. And then part of that YouTube journey is documenting the journey I'm on now, because things change over time.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard getting back on track and keeping myself around folks such as you guys and some of you I talk to. Y'all know what I'm talking about, and it's eventually going to be out there public, everything. But as far as me wanting to join the military, even though I had a military family, grandfather, uncle, dad, my son's currently active duty Navy. He's a nuclear engineer. He just got off his first ship assignment 3 months ago. His first ship was the Nimitz, and I couldn't be any prouder. Even though I was prior service Army myself, I mean, I went in at 34 years, 2006, but I wanted to go in right out of high school, but things happened. Got married 2 weeks before I was to ship out right after high school. Got on the bus, and my uncle run me down, got me off the bus station, off the bus at the state line, which was about 15 miles down the road. My wife had gotten an accident. We had been married 2 weeks, so I didn't make it to sign my contract right out of high school. And I was trying to get in at the end of the storm. That didn't work. So life went on. So I wound up waiting a few years, and I went in at 34 in 2006. And done 3.5 years and wound up being med boarded. But,
okay.
But that's what I'm military service, and I mean, there's other stuff in between that, but I'll just get back to everybody else.
No worries. These questions are meant that will hopefully strike some good conversation, and people in the live chat actually have the same stuff. So we'll start with XAN as we've gotten people here going. I've been kind of going around the room here, and now we'll start with XAN next. So how were the first few months, your first few months in the military, how were they? Is there anything that specifically affected you as a person, even up till today, in your first few months of the military?
Well, my first few months in the military was pretty good. I mean, I was one of them that enjoyed basic training. The only thing I got in trouble for was not writing home. you know, I mean, we had some guys writing home, "Mom, Dad, get me out of here." Like, no, I enjoyed it. And then I took my AIT at Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and which put me in DC every weekend, and I loved it. Got to go to the Smithsonian, see everything, and my first 6 months in there was great. And then I took my permanent party out Fort Ord, California, so I went from coast to coast. But yeah,
Nice.
for me, I loved it. I wish
Willow's
I'd stayed.
Mutt, you say, was on the Forrestal Ranger in Midway, did 3 West packs. I'm assuming that means you did 3 Western Pacific tours with the carrier group there.
That's a deployment. West Pack, what they refer on the West Coast is their 6.
Yeah, that
well,
means
carrier's
or...
probably about an 8-month.
Okay.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah, my son and my daughter, my son was interested in joining the Navy, but then he decided to go into the college piece, and now my daughter wants to join, so we'll be visiting the recruiter here soon enough for her so they can answer her questions. And I still think the Navy has the whacked out ranks, because you can say what you want about Chief Petty Officer, whatever, but you don't just have Chief Petty Officer or Petty Officer first class or third class. Then you got to add all that boatsman's mate, gunner's mate, and all that other stuff in their ranks. So I want to hear it. But Steve-O, go ahead with you. How are the I'm sorry, XAN, did you finish? Or did I may have cut you off?
No,
okay.
You didn't cut me off. I'm fine.
So, Steve-O, how was your first few months in the military? Anything that stands out even to you to this day that affected you?
Nothing. Well, I wouldn't say it affected me, mate. But take basic training out the equation. I was put into a Scottish regiment, and as an Englishman, that's kind of taboo. So yeah, they treated me like dog shit to begin with, obviously, but that toughened me up a little bit more. So I wouldn't say it, affected me in any way, shape, or form, but it's almost like you've got to go in there and become part of it, or part of their traditions and part of the way they look at life and whatnot. And as soon as you overcome that first few months of getting treated like absolute arse, then everything's good at that point. So yeah, like I said, the English guy in a Scottish regiment, it didn't go down well to begin with, and then after a while it was fine, man. It really was. But yeah, no, it kind of, but that was always there, for forever and a day. Then, for 25 years, literally for 25 years.
So did you join when they put you in that Scottish assignment? Did you, start out like you did, like the King said from Braveheart? The problem with Scotland is there's too many Scots. Did you try to throw that line out there?
Yeah, no, that probably wouldn't have went down well. To be fair, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of this back when. But like I said, once you're accepted by them, then it is what it is. I mean, I loved my time after that, and that's where the nickname Scouse comes from. Is because that's. That was where I was given that nickname because people from Liverpool are called Scousers. And obviously, going into a jock regiment, everybody was Scottish, and they said, "All right, we'll just call you Scouse now." So that was it.
Nice. So we're gonna kind of go a little opposite here, back and forth, bouncing around. So Derek, go ahead. Throttle Fiend.
Yeah. Couple of things stood out for me. I mean, boot camp is boot camp. As was said, they treat you like crap for 2 months. They got to break you down and build you back up in the military way, no matter what branch you're in. So you're in the right mindset. But one thing that really stands out to me is we went there obviously the first night, and then our first morning, the very first morning of boot camp, when we're with our actual company. I ended up being a little slow. And so the company left without me, and they went to the chow hall for breakfast, and I was lost. I had no idea. First day on Fort Leonard Wood, no, so I just went to the first building that I found and, said, I'm out for 31st. I got no clue where I'm at. They ended up calling one of the drills. He came, got me, was as nice as the day was long, getting me over to the chow hall. He ended up turning out to be the meanest son of a gun that ever lived. We grew to respect but hate his guts. So he was nice to me on that first day, kind of stuck with me. And I don't know, we were probably in like week 5 or 6, and we had done something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was blazing hot. It was like this close to being a Black Flag Day, where they just shut down everything. And we were marching with our rifles, and we got dropped for push-ups, and it felt like it took forever. And literally, I was this close to just standing up and saying, "F this! I can't take this anymore." And I didn't. I stuck through it, and that's when I knew that the military was for me. But as everybody else said, pretty much, I mean, just make it through boot camp, and more stuff came after that. But another thing, my brother and I, remember one brother, Chris, I'm the oldest of 5 boys, and Chris and I were never really close growing up. Kind of did his thing, I did my thing. We're 18 months apart. I'm 18 months older. And I was conceived right before my dad got drafted to Nam. He was conceived after my dad got back, and and we weren't really close. But he was the one that wrote me the most when I was in boot camp, and that meant a lot.
Okay.
So,
I'll bet it did. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting timeline you got there, though. But Doc, so we'll go with you next, and then we'll go on to UCM Pigs.
All righty. Well, the first few months, I'll be honest with you. I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey in January of '89. I had a blast. I've made friends that I'm still friends with today. They are my brothers. I love them to death. If they called me and said they needed me, no questions asked, I'm there. And vice versa. If I needed them, they'd be here for me, no questions asked. After Dix, I mean, I'm that old when Fort Dix was a basic training base.
Yeah.
I'm that old. I think XAN and I are the only Cold War vets on this panel.
Yeah.
But
I took my basic at Dix also.
Yep. But AIT at Fort Eustis, I had a great time at Fort Eustis. I really loved my service to this country. I had a great time. I had a great adventure. I really wouldn't replace it for anything. No one could pay me enough to go back time and not do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So with UCM Pigs, this is great timing. So you can translate what this question is.
What's the question?
Any blue water sailors in this bunch?
Well, I'm a blue water sailor. That's a guy that's just rode ships. Basically just your average. Yeah, we have blue water sailors. We have brown water sailors, which your brown water sailors are your boat squadrons that run up the rivers. They decommed them after Vietnam, and then the Gulf War, because the rivers over in Iraq and all that, they brought them back. And then they call them SWCC now, Special Warfare Craft.
Yep.
And then we have sand sailors, which, those are all your boots on ground guys.
Yeah. And then what do you call them seamen, the ones that are in the subs? I'm kidding.
No, that's a bubblehead.
Okay.
We're all seamen, man.
So how about I know. So how about you? What were your first few months in the military? Anything that has?
Man, I mean, the first few months, man. I don't know about you guys, but I was chasing my ass for the first few months. I didn't know which way was up, and how it affected me. And it's funny, it's how I fold my underwear. When I was in basic training, little C story here. We're known for these.
All right, come on, real quick. Hold on.
Real quick.
Show of hands. Be honest. Who still folds any of their clothing like they did in the military? Come on.
I do, and that's the impact of this story. We lived in these open bay barracks, 3 decks high, horseshoe shaped barracks with a courtyard in the middle. And my company commander, as you guys know, is a DI, came over, inspect my little locker. And the way you folded your T-shirts, when you looked at them from the side, it should have been skinny, fat, fat, skinny. Well, mine were skinny, fat, skinny, fat. I flopped it the wrong way. So he took all 6 of my T-shirts, all 6 of my skivvies, all 6 of my socks, threw them out the window. I had to double time down 3 decks, fold 1, bring it back while carrying my football bat, which if you don't know what that is,
Yep.
Last grad class at Great Lakes, Great Mistakes as we call it. We were the last grad classes to carry the M1 Springfields, with no firing pin. So I had to carry that, and you dare not lay your piece on the deck. So it had to be propped up on my shoulder while I'm folding T-shirts, running up and down the ladder to put them back. So to this day, I fold my T-shirts and my skivvies that way. That's how it impacted me. That's just the first couple months, man.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you need to wake up, or some are a little bit longer, some a little shorter, but I know I was a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So, Peaky, go ahead, man. Tell us your first few months after you got in. You realized you weren't going to jail.
To be fair, mate, Stevie probably knows there was the conflict in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland when I joined in 1993. So, which is with the IRA and stuff like that. So, for
everybody, sorry, real quick, but for everybody, help me out and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if memory serves right, for those that are in the live chat as well, I mean, it's been going on even to today, but 70s and 80s time frame into the early 90s, that IRA shit was no joke. I mean, that was
100 years. Been going on for 100 years.
Up until the 2000s, my last tour was in 98, and even then it was still really, really active in 1998. But I joined in 93. 17 years of age, went over there at 17 and 9 months. Got posted out on my 18th birthday. And then I went to a place called Covey Square. I was there, 3 days, and we got mortared, and the ceasefire broke. And we got mortared. We just got hammered for about 4 weeks. Absolutely, we got took to town as a regiment. We got taught a lesson out there with not just them firing on us, but as a tactical base and how they was working. Obviously, they all knew all the back roads and where people linked to, and they could get through people's houses and through gardens and this, that, and the other. We just got absolutely smashed, honestly. And that was my first 3 weeks in battalion. I got there, settled in, went to Covey Square. I think it was my 4th night. We got mortared, and I was just like, this is shit. This is really bad. You know what I mean? And I just remember them saying to us, don't ring your family. Don't speak to your family and tell them what's going on. I just remember being on the phone to my dad going, what the fuck have I done, man? what have I done here? Do you know what I mean? Because honestly, I just thought a bit like a guy was saying earlier about getting a paycheck. I think it was that real, if I'm being brutally honest. And then, you get people, unfortunately, that we had 7 patrols went out last night, that night, 2 got killed. And then that's when the kind of realization fucking kicks in then. Do you know what I mean? It's pretty fucking shit, you know what I mean? And then, but that set me up then for the rest of my army career then. Do you know what I mean? When you're doing training and stuff like that, like you can kind of say, you're doing it because of this. It's not just training. You're actually prepping for what goes on in real life fucking war.
I was gonna say, Steve, I maybe it's the military thing because he's talking about what he's talking about, but I've had no issues understanding Peaky so far at all.
Mate, I can't even understand the fucking word he's saying, so I don't know how the fuck you lot are listening to what's going on.
Funny story, man.
Suck me off.
When I was in Afghanistan, this Scottish dude used to talk to me every morning in the smoke pit And for 2 weeks, I couldn't understand a damn thing he would say. So finally, I told him, I said, dude, I don't understand. You're American, man. You're going to have to slow it down. You're a nice guy, but I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying, man.
Did I not speak slow then?
No, like
No,
13
Pinky, you're doing
I'm
just
joking.
fine, man.
I'm on the hunt for a wind up. That's
Listen,
all.
you fucking ginger bastard. Don't fucking
Oh,
start
easy,
for me.
Tiger, easy.
Fucking
Easy.
hell.
Here, I'll y'all keep this up. I'll move both of you down side by side, and you can just go glassing and stuff. So
You keep muting us.
There'll be no glassing tonight.
Buck, go ahead, man. So, Buckground, with the first few months in the military for you, you spoke a little bit of it earlier, but this way you can focus in on the early months and anything that has stuck with you.
My time going in, you know, like I said, I was 34. So for me, boot camp was like Boy Scout camp. Yeah, it was at Jackson, but after you know, I was the same age as my drill instructors, twice the age of all the folks that were going through basic with me. So, you know, I was probably been driving a truck up until I went in the military for almost 10, 11 years. So, you know, heavy chain smoker, and I would still run a 13-minute 2-mile run. And these kids were like, "How is this old man doing this?" And I'm like, I've already lived life. And one of the funniest stories in the red phase, you know, we're all getting smoked because one person lipped off at the drill instructors, and we'd be down there giving them, you know, pounding our faces, and I'd be making smart ass comments in the back of the platoon. You know, y'all just making this old man stronger than the drill instructors. So they'd just be like, "Shut up, Brown. Shut up." They really wouldn't. They shut up. And fast forward through basic and AIT onto my first duty station. Got sent to K-16, Seoul Air Base, and it's a funny thing when you see the Seoul Olympic Stadium from the door of a Black Hawk.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. 07. And on into Iraq back from here to Stewart. I went to Stewart 6 months. Joined my company down, and we were wound up at Bob Cal Zoo, and I get dropped off from BIOP, get pushed out the back of a Nook at 11:30 at night. Have to go to day break. And right after daylight, my first staging assignment, because I was a fueler, so had to be down at staging and roll out my first convoy, and I wasn't even boots on ground from BIOP after my pinpoint orders. I wasn't at my fob 8 hours, and I was already in my first convoy. Get back off the convoy, and next thing you know, we got mortars coming in, and they go across the fob and hit the farm next door and kill a couple of his cows, and QRF mad because they got to go over and bury the cows. That's some pretty good stories that I got to tell. I mean, the rest of them I'll save for later.
So interesting. Burying cows hit by mortars is an interesting thing to take away from it and remember. Raider, go ahead. What about yourself?
Hey man, sorry for after this. I gotta get going.
No, that's fine. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm hosting a party tonight for our curricular activities. But the first few months it was crazy, man. Because I mean, I graduated boot camp September 7th, 2001, and September 11th, I'm sitting on my couch watching TV. Yeah, September 11th happened, and I was like, well, I guess this is what's gonna happen now. So, as soon as, all the training and everything started going after, you go to boot camp and then you go to all your specialty schools. I didn't even know what job I was going to get because I went in open contract. I didn't have a choice in my job just because how I went in. But, man, it was hectic, man. It was going in and everyone was ready to go to war. I mean, it took a little bit, 2003 until we actually went. But, first few months, I mean, the schools, everybody was being a lot more tough than they regularly would be. But at that time, I mean, they were also just recruiting anybody because they wanted as many people as they can get. And it was a little harder, because they already knew we were probably going to go to war. And it was a little harder to recruit people. But yeah, the first few months, you know, it was a little hectic, but I was ready to go, man. I was like, all right, this is what I wanted to do. Let's go. And yeah, other than that, it was, you know, the experience of the, you know, because we're always hurry up and wait 15 minutes prior. That's always been a thing for me now. 15 minutes prior for everything. I mean, I think I was the first one on this live stream at 07, so or 7 p.m. So 1900, I was on this live stream ready to go. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't think it's going on yet. But, you know, 15 minutes prior, like I said, like, you know, folding clothes. I mean, showers. I'd shower really fast when I could just take my time. What other influence has been there? I eat really fast, but I probably should slow down eating. I always have to sit with the door, you know, facing the entryway. Just crazy stuff, man. You know, but it's just, I think that's just being us having situational awareness and just being aware where we're at, and you know, having discipline.
I agree.
Yeah, you know, and that's that discipline that's been instilled in us, and it's just, I don't think it's ever going to go away, which is fine. And then we try to instill it in our kids, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. But hey, thank you very much for having me on here. Great talking to y'all. Wish I could stay on here longer, but I gotta go do some stuff. But I really
good to see you.
I love hearing the story.
Appreciate it. Thanks for showing.
I like being on these live streams. So whenever I'm home, definitely I'll be on here if I'm home.
Hey, happy birthday! Happy birthday to the core.
Hey, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gotta go take some shots now.
Enjoy, mate. Enjoy. Good to see you, buddy.
Hanging out with you, man.
Absolutely. Y'all take care.
See you, mate.
Weems, I apologize. You hit me up on the private chat saying you needed to jump in there, and I would have if I'd seen it. My bad. But if you want to go ahead, feel free to share real quick. And then if you got to go ahead.
Sure thing, man. So I enlisted as a parachute rigger. That's a guy who packs parachutes, repairs them, and jumps out of airplanes. So I went to basic at Fort Jackson. And right after basic training, the parachute riggers go to airborne school before they go to AIT, because we have to pack parachutes in AIT and jump with them. Came out of that, went straight to 5th Special Forces Group up at Fort Campbell. That's where I know Mr. Toby from, back in our times there at Campbell. But I showed up at Fort Campbell, reported my first sergeant, and he told me, don't unpack your bags. We're leaving in 4 months. Rolled out to my first of 5 deployments with 5th Group. Back and forth to Iraq. I mean, I have to say that first few months in the military was a blur. That first deployment was for Special Forces. It was a long deployment. We were there for 10 months. And but during that time, got shot at, got blown up. I was in the DFAC bombing in Mosul where 21 people died.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was a trip. But, you know, at the end of the day, I say, you know, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Definitely the military, the Army changed me, changed the way I think, and gave me a lot more discipline and focus. I was laughing as you guys say, folding your underwear. I was like, man, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. I didn't wear my uniform home. I didn't. You know, I wasn't Sergeant Weems at home or any of that stuff, but it's pretty funny. Somebody flipped the Blue Mule, called me out on it, because when anybody buys like my T-shirts from my website, I always fold them. I roll them up, you know, just like we used to do in our in basic training. They go out to the guy, so he called me out on that. But yeah, outside of that, man, love the military, love what the Army did. I definitely appreciate all of my brothers in arms, all of you guys on here, whether you're across the pond or, you know, right here across the water from me in Florida. Thank you guys for your service. Definitely, you know, we all sacrificed at some point so that other people can have the freedoms that they have. So thank you guys for what you've done, what you've experienced, the time you put in, no matter if it was 2 weeks or 20 years, man. You guys are definitely what it's about. So yeah.
On you, man. On you.
Outstanding. Well, hopefully I want to get over to the other side of the pond and hang out with the Peaky Biker and go to Birmingham so we can go to the BSA factory and like check out all the cool stuff there. Cause you see there you go. I'm all about the British bikes, bro.
There you go.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a great night. Enjoy your Veterans Day. Go have a shot on me.
Good hanging out with you, man.
Where do we send that bill to?
Hit me up, weemsmotorco@gmail@yahoo.com. Go to the whatever. Send something in the messages on YouTube. I'll hook you up. Whenever I see any of you guys, we'll have a shot together.
Take care, Weems. Thank you so much for joining.
Great night. Peace.
So the next one we got here, hold on a second. Remove him. And we got some good comments here. So the next piece I'll talk about with you guys is it's going to be, we kind of covered a little bit there with the basic training, job training stuff, but this is kind of going more to the job side. Some of you guys said that you went to Fort Dix. I know I went to basic at Fort Leonard Wood. I was a split op myself where I went my junior summer to basic training in 92. And then I went to Fort Ben Harrison, which is no longer around, up in Indianapolis, Indiana, in my senior year, 93. So you guys already covered a little bit on the first thoughts and the oh shits and all that kind of stuff when we first got into the basic trainings and all that. Were there any, let's see, what I was going to say, any memories of it still stand out today from basic, but again, we kind of covered that already. So what about a question like this? Anything in basic difficult or easy to adjust to civilian to military lifestyle? So when you had to go in, when you first entered, was there anything that your civilian habits and the thing that you did in the civilian sector kind of slowed it down or made it more difficult to do or transition into in the military? So I know when I was in basic, I didn't realize I was talking to my fellow trainees, and next thing I know, I had a drill sergeant stare me right in the face because I was leaning on a car while we were waiting to get into formation. I was that wrapped up in the conversation. He ripped into my ass. But go ahead, Doc Harley, you started.
All right, the most difficult part of basic training from civilian to military lifestyle was getting up so goddamn early. I mean, let's start we're talking basics. Let's talk about basic from civilian life to military life. Getting up at dark 30. What the hell is dark 30? And I was like, what do you mean I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock at night? The hell, I stay up till midnight. Let me tell you something. I was ready for bed by 1800 hours after my first day in basic training. I'm talking not reception battalion. I'm talking actually in basic training when I got handed off to my DIs. At 1800, I was ready for bed. And with that, one day we had a Sunday off. Yes, we had a day off, believe it or not, in basic training. And we were told to do whatever we wanted as long as it was productive. So what do? I rack out on my rack. I woke up to my drill sergeant and right hand to God, I looked at her. I said, 5 more minutes, Mom. And the next thing I know, my rack was slipped. I was on the ground. And she says, you think I'm your mother? And I was like, I jumped up to position to parade rest. And man, that sandwich did not taste good.
How about you? You see him?
I mean, it was a pretty easy transition for me, just because of my upbringing, growing up in the Deep South, and my dad being in the military and stuff. I had more problems transitioning out.
Yeah, we're going to get to that too. Yeah, we'll get to that.
But I guess the biggest thing for me, and it got me in trouble more than once, was, again, coming from the South. You know, we yes ma'am and no sir and all that stuff down there. Nope. And in the Navy, we don't do that to enlisted people. You do not call an enlisted person sir or ma'am. And that got me in trouble more than once. You address them as their pay grade or their rank. And yep. And that was probably one of my most difficult things. But I mean, Navy basic training, I mean, it's more of a mind game. It's not a physical game. And it was just paying attention to detail. And they really stressed that because in our line of work, for example, a lot of people don't know. I mean, every sailor is a trained firefighter because that's our number one, fear when we're at sea. And that type of attention to detail, you just don't ignore things. And I think somebody else in the panel had talked about it, just being aware of your surroundings and stuff that's going on around you, because that ship will kill you quick. There's nowhere to go. There's no fire department. There's no EMS. There's nobody to help you. You help yourself. So, that was kind of difficult to get used to, but again, just having that attention to detail. So, yeah, I mean, it was a pretty smooth transition for me.
It's pretty sweet, man. It's funny because, so as I mentioned, my daughter wants to join the Navy. So like earlier last week, we spent, I don't know, the evening kind of sitting down, and what does a person who does YouTube videos do? Well, we started searching on basic training for Navy, basic for Marine Corps and Army and all that stuff, and just trying to find the most current stuff. And I will say I was actually impressed when I watched the most recent Navy recruiting, Navy basic training, the recruit training stuff they go through. I'm not going to say it was like smoke sessions, but it was extremely way more technical than I was expecting. I was very impressed with that. So it's
changed. It's changed quite a bit over the years. I went through in 90, and I did a tour recruiting in the mid 90s, and they sent us all back up there for a refresher, because you need to be able to tell applicants what to expect.
Right.
And they have changed it. It's got more obstacle course based stuff and things like that. But it's nothing like what you guys went through, because again, I've had a taste of that as well. And but it is a lot of technical stuff. There's a lot of stuff to know about those ships. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it's not just the firefighting stuff, and that's one thing they addressed in the video, but the stuff that every single person has to learn as far as getting a vessel underway, bringing it into dock, into mooring, and whatever the platform of the craft is that they're going to be on, they
have to be a master of it, and we have different qualifications
along with the regular job stuff. So I mean, that was.
And again, I don't want to take away too much time for anybody, but this is an interesting topic. And you're talking about, springing off other discussions. When we're assigned to a ship, that's our deployable status. It's usually about a 3-year time that you're assigned to a ship. And we stand a duty section, which is every 3 to 5 days, depending on the size of the ship. You spend 24 hours on the ship. And the whole premise behind that is if something hits the fan, we have to be able to get that ship underway. So we may not have everybody on board. We have what we got, and we have to get underway. And 9/11 was a perfect example of that. I mean, when the second plane hit, I was assigned to a destroyer out of Norfolk, and within 2 hours, I was off the coast of Virginia with, one pair of underwear. So, that's what we had to do. And, it's pretty intense, and a lot of people don't think about it, but, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Of course. So, Peaky, go ahead. Anything? I know some of these questions are a little more redundant, but maybe they give you all a little bit of ability to expand on maybe something specific that stuck out to you or whatever. So go ahead. Anything in basic that was difficult or hard to adjust? I mean, you talked about with the IRA piece and all that. I mean, to me, that sounds more like it was going from one fight into another. Except now you're being trained to do it.
To places like Afghan or Iraq or somewhere like that, when they're shouting at you, you don't know what they're saying. That's 90% of the battle. When you going over to places where you understand what they're saying, and they're saying, "We know you patrol X, Y, and Z. We know you doing this section X, Y, and Z," and they know what the fuck you're doing before you even know. That's when it starts going scary. That's why I believe, like Northern Ireland was probably the worst place I've ever been to in my life, because it was fucking horrendous, mate. And I've never been to a place before or since where you could go to somewhere and you can understand what they're saying, and that makes everything twice as worse.
Yeah,
twice as worse. When they know you on your, as soon as they collar your name or your nickname or something like that, mate, that's more difficult.
just imagine this. I mean, for those in the live chat, if they're what veteran or not, we were joking about this earlier, with Peaky about the thick accent and talking. He's been slowing it down just for us, and thank you for that. But imagine that in a operational environment where trying to talk over, mics and headsets and everybody around you and all the noise and the just the chaos. I mean, that language barrier can be killer. So, I mean, life threatening actually.
It's obviously it's difficult for everybody, but you get to a point where when you start hearing somebody, you do learn the accents and you do learn certain criteria and certain things that they say differently. I worked fucking many years in reconnaissance, so I worked from a lot of different sectors, but once you spoke to that person 2 or 3 times, within that first sentence, you're like, right, I know who I'm speaking to now, and then your brain adjusts to what they're saying. You know what I mean? You might not catch every single word, but you catch the bulk of the sentence, and you understand what the sentence is about, rather than trying to have, like now, I'm trying to speak really quite slowly. I don't speak like this normally. I speak really fast normally. So, it's especially on a radio, it's quite frustrating when somebody's talking and you're just like, say again, say again, say again, and you're just like, mate, slow down. And obviously when you're under contact or whatever's happening, the heat of the moment, you don't really understand. But it's one of the things that you learn how to do properly. And when you am under contact, not to sit there and just fucking give me like a 7762. You know what I mean? Stop.
Absolutely.
Have a second, then talk. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, it's just one of them. It's just one of them. It's for me and Stevie, the military biker. Obviously, we've done a lot of things in our military service, like you guys have as well. I ain't disrespecting you guys, but do you know what I mean? We've kind of, me and Stevie kind of served in the same sector, the same area, the same time. So you know what I mean. We kind of know what each other's bouncing off, and understand your mental health and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? He can come on and I can text him straight away and just go, I can see you are okay, or he can say that to me, I can see you are okay, and I think that's a good thing.
So Derek, how about yourself?
Well, coming from a background, granted, I had very sporadic interactions with my father growing up. My parents divorced when I was really young, but with him being, like I said, Vietnam veteran and then a sheriff for 33 years, retired, plus, being raised by a single mom and all that, I was brought up, respect and give respect. My 2 things were, one, the hurry up and wait really drove me crazy. I'm one of those people. If I'm going somewhere, I'm going to get there and I'm ready to go. I hated, being in a rush and then having to stand in line for a freaking half an hour while my platoon was in line for, getting gear, pulling weapons out of the armory to go to the range or what have you. The other thing is, somebody mentioned about calling people sir and ma'am. That's been in my DNA since I was a kid. That's the way I was brought up. Funny story on that, though. I was at Fort Sam Houston, Texas for combat lifesaver course for a short bit. And anybody who's been in the area knows about the Riverwalk. Well, one night we decided to take a cab down to the Riverwalk, and we get in, and I said, sir. And the cab driver was like, I'm a veteran myself. Don't call me don't call me sir. And then I did it again, and he said something to the effect that I guarantee you, by the time I drop you guys off, you'll say it 3 more times. And I'm like, I'll take that bet. So we go. I do 2 times. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. We get out of the cab. And he's like, all right, you guys have a good time tonight. Don't get into too much trouble. I was like, thanks, sir. I handed over $1. But it wasn't just coming in and all that wasn't too much. I mean, obviously you got the BS of boot camp that we all dealt with, but the hurry up and wait was the worst part for me. That and people not towing the line. We had one dude when we went to the gas chamber at Fort Leonard, where you go in. I don't know about other bases, but you go in like 4 at a time, and you have to take off your mask, put it back on, clear it, and then take it off so you can CS gas. Well, he refused to take his.
Thank you.
Thanks, Des. He refused to take his off, so we all had to wait while he took. So yes, somebody got a blanket party that night. But, we didn't hurt him too bad.
So what's a blanket party? I'm kidding.
If there's anybody that doesn't know what a blanket party is, put it in the chat and I'll describe
Who
it.
ordered the code red?
And on to the next.
XAN, go ahead, man. So anything in the basic, difficult? What was the transition for you going from civilian to military life? Anything?
Well, being a country boy, like I said, basic wasn't too bad, except for I had I kind of like to show people up, and we had one lieutenant that was hanging around, and it was in the gas chamber, and he said, "I dare anybody to take their mask off and outlast me in this gas chamber." And I said, "Hey, Lieutenant." And he said, "GD, Lindsay." I mean, he didn't think anybody would do it. But anyhow, the thing was, if I could outlast him, I'd get the day off the next day and not have to do anything. So it worked out. I outlasted him. But I tell you what, my eyes burned for hours afterwards.
That's the funny thing for every single one of those service branch videos we were showing our daughter is every one of them included that segment of the gas chamber. And it was so funny watching different people, all the stuff and all the, nasal passages getting cleared out. And
I about want to step into a gas chamber right now and really be able to breathe again.
I used to tell our guys
years in the military, we went to the gas chamber on the same day, which happened to be my birthday. Happy birthday.
we have to certify. Well, I say we. I've been retired for 13 years, but we had to certify for
it's a force of habit, man.
OC spray periodically, and they were trying to get me to certify right before I retired, and I'm like, I ain't doing that. And they're like, you got to do it, Chief. I said, I ain't doing it. I said, first of all, I don't need to do it to know it sucks. Just show me a video, man. Let me watch somebody get it done to them. And then, hey, man, that sucks. I don't want that sprayed in my face. Done. Training's complete, man. Why do I need to have you spray this in my face for me to know it sucks? I just don't understand that.
All right. So, Buck, go ahead, man. Your turn as far as anything been basic that was difficult to adjust to because of the civilian life that you had to, try to get used to.
For me, like I said, going in at 34 years old,
But that was an adjustment.
I had to go from that 2.5, 3 packs a day to none. Them kids that was in basic with me, they really caught it. Like I said earlier in the chat, that I was basically helping the drill sergeants teach these kids how to go through the training. Because, like I said, it was just it was like I said, it was like Boy Scout camp for me.
Yeah.
And the thing that that I wanted to touch base on, and then I'll have to get out of here because I got to plug my phone in.
Okay.
Daughter's getting hungry, and the dog's outside raising. Hey, Toby, I shared this with you when we spoke on the phone a couple months ago.
Yeah.
3 days after me and my wife got married, I deployed to Iraq. That was July 28th.
I think I lost you, Buck. I think we lost you. Frozen up. There you are. There you are.
Okay. Well, last thing you heard was me and my wife got married 3 days before I deployed to Iraq.
Right.
And then she passed away July 28th, 2023. 3 days after our 15th anniversary. So that would have been 15 years to the day that I deployed to Iraq.
Sorry for your loss, bro.
I wanted to bring that up because we're talking military stuff this evening. I found these when I was going through my safe, and I put her rings right there with my dog tags. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I want y'all to make every minute count. If that's the only message I could pass on, just make every minute count.
Amen.
Appreciate you guys for all your service.
Thank you for sharing with us, Buck, and thank you for joining.
I'm glad you had me on. Hope to share it with you guys in person, and maybe like Jared said, I don't do shot stuff, but I will share a beer with you. Appreciate it, guys.
Have a good night.
Happy
Veterans Day.
Saw XAN sharing his dog tags, and I was looking around, and I just remembered. There it is.
Yeah.
And who's this quiet guy over here?
Who's this guy? Yeah, down here. Go ahead and introduce tell everybody who you are, what your channel is, real quick. What branch you were in, and some of the questions that we've had so far.
Well, my name's Jeremy. You can call me Busted Knuckle Motorcycles. You can call me Asshole if you want. I'll answer it too. But I served just over 13 years in the Illinois National Guard, 1 deployment to Iraq. I volunteered for a few more, but did not get selected. They were over full instead of people dropping out. Yeah. And then as far as just from civilian to military, putting a rank on the end of somebody, on the beginning of somebody's name, or just drill sergeant, that was a tough one for the first 2 or 3 days. Then you learn really damn quick.
Where'd you go to basic and job training or MOS training? I can say.
Went to basic in Fort Sill and field artillery in Fort Sill.
Oh wow, you did OSUT. For those that don't know, OSUT.
I was split.
Okay, split.
Cocker.
Yep, that's right.
Yep, I did 13 Bravo, and then whenever we deployed to Iraq, they transitioned our unit from field artillery to infantry or support, depending on which unit you were in.
Derek.
Mine went support, and I kind of wanted to stay there, which I didn't want to be infantry anyways. I don't like to walk. So I wanted to be a mechanic when I enlisted. They just didn't have any openings locally. So I went to be a wheeled vehicle mechanic.
Interesting. For my situation,
I did my MOB to go overseas out of Fort Dix in January. How stupid is the Army to send somebody to New Jersey in January to train to go to the desert?
Somebody was telling me the other day that they sent his unit. I think they said they sent him to Colorado or someplace. It was like in the wintertime in the snow, like for 2 weeks of whatever training. and then they went to the desert. I was like to deploy to one of the two. I can't remember which one he said. I was like, that never makes any sense. So, but the next question I'll ask you, gentlemen, and we'll start with Doc again, and then we'll go around. I'm going to step off real quick, and you guys can just take your turns. Were there any NCOs, officers, leaders, or whomever that really helped you adjust to military life, or that gave you some tips or hacks that have stuck with you throughout your time in the military? Go ahead, Doc. You start.
All right. The first NCO that really helped me out was one of my drill sergeants, Drill Sergeant Carter, in basic training. And the next one I had was Sergeant Gary Edwards. He was my first squad leader I had with the 82nd Airborne Division. I mean, he was squared away and cared more about his soldiers than he did his own military career. And he taught me how to be an NCO when I was a private. I mean, he put his rank on the line if you were 75% right every single time. But if you were 25% right, 75% wrong, he came after you with that rank. And yes, I got an Article 15 by him, but I respect him for that. He taught me the ins and outs of the Army more so than any other NCO I had. And I love and respect Gary Edwards. Fast forward 15 years later, I ran into him at Fort Hood when we were on Moab Station. He was living at Fort Hood, retired, and we connected, went out to dinner, and had a great time. And we caught up, and it was awesome to see him again. I love him to death. That you really can't. I really can't measure any NCO as high as him. Not even myself.
We just going this way or whatever way?
Sure. Why don't you go next?
Am I next? So, this is one of those questions that, goes back to what we were talking about earlier when Toby was poking fun about our ranks and stuff in the Navy and a little bit of differences in how we do business. NCO is not really something that we focus on a lot. We have petty officers, and that's when you make E4, you become a petty officer, and then you got petty officer first or petty officer third as an E4, second as an E5, and first is an E6. For us, the big differentiation in enlisted ranks is between E6 and E7 when you become a chief petty officer. And it's a pretty big deal in the Navy. We change uniforms. It's just the way our structure is made up, being on board a ship. They needed a different type of leader, not really an officer. So you have your own mess. You eat separately. It's a big deal. You not only test, you go to a selection board. So for me, as an E6, is when I really got a lot of influence from my senior chief, who's an E8. And the first, I'm just going to say his first name, Mike. I don't like using last names. But I owe my anchors to him. He's the reason I made chief petty officer, because I was on downward slope. I had an NJP, and things were not looking good for me. And it's not a bad thing. I was preparing to retire as an E6, and there's nothing wrong with retiring as an E6. It's just that's not what my goal was. But he got me on the right track and taught me how to lead, and that was a pretty influential thing in my life. And just a little sea story, a little bit of a shipboard structure for y'all, you Army guys. I got to fill it in here for you guys. Our chain of command basically is you have a chief petty officer who is your divisional chief, and then you have and they're called the leading chief petty officer, and that could be an E7, E8, or an E9. But a chief's a chief's a chief. And then you have a leading petty officer, which is typically an E6, petty officer first, maybe a petty officer second if it's a small division. So with that chain of command, making chief is a huge deal. And so I had an indiscretion. I didn't think I was going to make chief. And, long story short, Mike just kind of led the way. But when I became the leading petty officer as an E6, I pretty much checked on board the ship, and there were 4 other E6s. And I checked on board the ship, and I looked at Mike and I said, and I didn't call him Mike, of course, I called him Senior. And I said, Senior, I'm your new LPO. And he said, you are? I said, yeah, I'm taking over. I'm senior to these other guys, and I'm going to be the new leading petty officer. So he called the guy in that was currently the leading petty officer, told him, hey, he's the new LPO. A couple days later, we were underway, and I'd stood a mid-watch. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the ball is the 6. Yeah, midnight to 6. I got off watch, got some chow, went down and hit my rack. And about 8:15, one of the other E6s came down, and he's knocking on my rack, and he's like, Sean, Senior wants to see you. I said, what's going on? So I get dressed. I go up to where we work, and he wouldn't even look at me. He just said, again, Toby, going back to your pitch on ranks, he said, OS1, I'm pissed off. And I said, what about? And he said, there's a ghost turd out in that P-way. I've walked past it twice today. It needs to be taken care of. And I looked around, and I'm in a room full of other E6s and E5s. And he said, you're the leading petty officer. You need to take care of it. So that was a strong leadership place for me. I stepped in, told him who I was going to be. And, you know, sometimes when you step up to be the man, you got to pay to be the man. And, you know, that was a pretty big thing for me. So yeah. Oh, Mike, he good chief. We're still good friends to this day. And he rides. I ride.
Walk the walk.
What's that?
You talk the talk and walk the walk.
Absolutely, man.
Right on.
Who's next? Or did everybody already say who?
No, we got the whole bottom roll.
Yeah, Buster would be next.
Well, there were several that, you know, helped lead me in the right direction, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
I mean, obviously starting off the drill sergeants, they really influence you whether you want to believe it or not. Then probably my biggest was called him Pops. Dude I think he had four kids, but he had 1,000 of us that called him Pops. He was one of those ones that if you didn't call him Pops, he was wondering what the fuck was wrong with you, what you did wrong. So, and that was on the mechanic inside because the dude served 39 years.
Shoo. So he really made a strong impact for
a lot
you.
Of people.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that was always impressed upon me as I came up, and I was always we were trying to show troopers was, if I'm not teaching you to replace me, then I'm not doing the job right.
Always train your relief. Always.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead yourself.
Yeah. I had a guy that is a senior over me, and he always taught me not to procrastinate. Because, you know, like he said, do it, get it done with, then you don't have to worry about it. You know, instead of like, you know, putting it off, like then you come up against a deadline and then you have to worry about it. He said a whole lot less stress if you just go ahead and do it. Yeah. And, you know, it's just one thing I've carried with me. That and being accountable. My MOS was a 52 Charlie, which was utility equipment repair. But then when I got to my permanent party out Fort Ord, they stuck me in a tool room. And I had to account for all the mechanics' tools. I mean, they had to, about every 3 months, we would lay out your toolbox. What do you have? What do you don't have? This is missing. That's $400, buddy. You know, it's just more or less, you got to, you know, keep your eye on your tools and that's when they went through the thing of the $400 hammers.
Yeah.
it just like, oh, come on. You go to Walmart and get it for $10, you know, but no, military is $400. but no, I learned, to be accountable for stuff. And it's something that burns me to this day is somebody like, it's the thing like, not my problem, Well, if you had your hand in it at any point, you've got some part of it,
Yeah.
But
and that's what Raider Nation, Raider World pulled up and said a little bit ago about to be in the early and accountable and all that stuff. And that's one thing I learned. It took me a few years to learn that, and I went through a couple back and forth ranks on it. But eventually, you learn that if you don't learn it, you're not going to be in very long. But I learned very quick after that if you screw it up, just man up to it or fess up to it, whatever it is, and deal with it and fix it. And
yeah, exactly.
I've often found that after that, it's a lot of times, it's not, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a thing. If nobody died and no equipment was massively destroyed.
Right.
And hey, Frog, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Derek, I think you're next, but real quick, Jim, I know a lot of people have left, but toast everybody, brothers and sisters.
I'm all out. I've been drinking all night.
Well, I had to take a stop. That's why I went out there to do that and continue hosting. So
I already been through 2 pints of bourbon tonight.
Let's see. Top for those.
I'm kidding? I'm in a hotel.
There you go. Call room service, get some more.
Right.
I'm slumming it. No room service. Not the Air Force.
Top First Sergeant Leftwich. He was very hands-on, kind of like I think it was Busted Knuckles said, Pops. We didn't call him Pops. He probably would have kicked our ass if we did, but if you didn't call him Top, something was up. He never really wanted to be, unless there were officers around that worked in the company. He didn't want anybody calling him by his rank other than Top. He was very hands-on with all of us. Really kind of showed us the ropes and invested a lot.
I got you in a minute, Flip.
And
I know what you're talking about.
And the other one was my company captain, Captain Davis. Again, another guy that really looked out for his soldiers and all that. Never have touched the devil's lettuce, as they call it, but he would when he knew that random whiz quizzes were coming up, he would break out with oranges and stuff for those that might need a little bit of help. Get around that. So, but
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, as much as I hate to say it, and I think it's probably mostly the type of units that I was in. I learned from most NCOs how not to be an NCO. As much as I hate to say that,
there was two.
So I mean, I wouldn't trade anything, and if I had to go back, I might make some changes, but I definitely would have done it all over again.
Yeah, I used to tell my lower enlisted, look, one day you're going to be an NCO. What I want you to do is look at every NCO you had in your career. Take what you liked about them and put that in your toolbox. Take what you didn't like about them and their leadership style and do not emulate it. Create your own style of leadership.
Yep.
But don't copy somebody else's. Be your own leader. Stand on your own 2 feet, but learn from every NCO that you had in your career.
Yep, that's a great point. So, with everybody here, I'm not going to put this one. Well, I'll put this one up real quick and then I'll pull it back down. This is the question for this piece here. I know my ex-AN said earlier you were I think you said 51 Charlie, but I'm probably mistaken. But I know
52 Charlie.
52, Charlie. So
Yeah.
go around and tell everybody what it is. So Doc Harley, start with you. You were in aviation.
I was Army Aviation, almost Air Force, as I like to joke around and say. I started my career in 1989 as an Apache start-em up guy / mechanic.
Okay.
Then when I left active duty, I had my senior wings, and I went to Connecticut National Guard. We don't have Apaches, so I had to transition into Chinooks. I had a choice of Blackhawks and Chinooks. Well, Blackhawks are made in my home state, 2 towns away, and I know people that work there. And I said, ain't no way I'm flying on those goddamn things. And so I went Chinooks, and I proved myself as a mechanic, worked my way into a crew chief slot. I got promoted into a flight engineer, which is the minimum flight crew on a Chinook is a pilot, co-pilot, and a flight engineer. Or on a Blackhawk, your minimal crew is pilot, co-pilot. So aircraft couldn't fly without the flight engineer.
I was about to say, not to interrupt you, but so people understand, if you don't know, especially in a live chat, if I'm not mistaken, so most of your pilots in those rotary wing aircraft, they get in the bird and they go from point A to point B. Whatever that is. They got their pre-flight checks and all that stuff they do. Their co-pilot saying, but the flight engineer, like what Dr. Harley's saying, is no joke. I mean, you basically run the entire platform, whatever that is, that enables them to do that flying.
Yep. I handled weight and balance. I handled cargo, whether it was internal or external cargo. I handled the fuel measurements. I've handled how we configure the aircraft, if we're going to do a CASEVAC, or if we're going to do airborne operations, or we're going to do special operations. You name it, we did it. And whether I had a sling load of Black Hawk, which I've done many times, I used to tell the Black Hawk crews all the time, don't worry, when you break down or crash, I'll pick up your aircraft, I'll pick you up, complete your mission while I'm carrying your helicopter. But, I was also a paratrooper. Like I said earlier, I served with the 82nd Airborne Division. I wouldn't enlist an airborne contract. I went through RIP. I made it all the way through RIP 2 days before graduating RIP. I got dropped out as a heat casualty, so I couldn't go on the Ranger School, which broke my heart because I thought that was the progress I wanted to go in. I wanted to be the most badass aviation guy there was, but I wasn't. I was just a regular soldier doing their job. I loved it. There were days, man, that we would, fly to Fort Drum, and in the National Guard, everybody says, yeah, weekend warriors. But I tell you, in Army Aviation, I had to withhold the same standard as active duty. So that 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, that was actually my time off. I was flying every weekend. I was flying twice, 2 periods a day for 2 days a week. So, I loved it. I couldn't complain. I mean, it was awesome being Army Aviation, 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep because it was flight crew and being in charge of my own aircraft. And there were times I got to tell pilots, whether they were full board colonels or W5s or W4s, which are warrant officers, I told them where to go and how to get there. Why? Because I was hanging out of the aircraft. They couldn't see the load. Okay, forward 10, down 5.
So if you guys can imagine, I mean, because everybody in here and in the live chat, from the perspective of biking, you can imagine if you've gone on any kind of a long road trip, we'd all know busted knuckle, never mind, we won't go there. If you have been on a long road trip, I'm just playing with you. Then from packing a motorcycle, if you pack it wrong, not just overpack, but if you put the weight wrong anywhere on that luggage rack, or if you have a tour pack or in your saddlebags or whatever, if you overpack or pack it wrong, that affects your ability to handle that bike. Period. It affects the long trip. It affects the gas mileage, all of it. So that is just that flight engineer handles.
If you're in aviation, if your weight and balance is off, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
let's be plain and simple. And I would have to fill out the risk assessments for each mission. And I was also the flying maintenance expert. So if we had a maintenance issue in flight, it was my decision. Do we land now or can we make it back to the closest facility? And I can tell you, there was a time, man, when we were flying up from Fort Bragg back to Connecticut. We were crossing the Delaware River, and I got a combining transmission debris screen. And we were literally right over the center of the Delaware River. And I said to the pilots, where are the winds coming? They said, they're coming up the tail. I says, all right, we could at least glide and auto-rotate to the Baltimore Ravens parking lot. And we end up landing in the Baltimore Ravens parking lot. We shut the aircraft down. I pull the debris screens out, and I'm pulling out pieces of gears I could read serial numbers on. That combining transmission would sync up the forward and aft rotor system. So if that failed, which it was failing, we can have a mid-air collision with ourselves. So that was my decision to make with the pilots at the sticks. I called my pilots the stick jigglers, and I was the actual crew.
Nice. So UC and Pigs, go ahead with yours as far as your job, and then Derek and XN and Busted and Flip. I'll get to you in just a minute. I got to go link up with what I promised you I'd do. I'll be right back.
So I'm gonna have to again put this in layman's terms for you guys. No, I'm just joking. I was an operations specialist, and what an operations specialist is we basically work in the ship's brain, the radar room. It's a place on the ship called Combat Information Center. It's where all radar, all comms, all weapons are released from. So we work in all different warfare areas, and our job is to assist the ship's tactical action officer, who is the officer that has weapons release authority in the absence of the CO. So to help them make tactical decisions to safely navigate the ship, to launch weapons safely, everything dealing with the movement of that ship through the water. My specialty was anti-submarine warfare. I was an anti-submarine warfare tactical air controller, which meant I controlled aircraft to find submarines. So I controlled helicopters primarily, S-60s, we call them SH-60s, Seahawks. And we would use them to put out buoys to locate submarines and drop weapons if we need to. We also used P-3s and S-3s, which is a jet, to hunt subs. So that was my primary job. But like most of you guys, I know Toby did a career. You move on, you do a lot of stuff. But throughout my career, I spent some time as a small boat coxswain, which is drove small boats for a while when I was stationed in Spain. Done recruiting duty, done instructor duty. I've been a U.S. Navy individual augmentee, which sent me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina for 3 weeks through an Army boot camp, and basically went through basic rifleman school or infantry training, whatever you guys call it. We ran around at Fort Jackson and shot guns and did convoys a lot for 3 weeks, and got to go over and spend time. And the only reason I got selected to do that was because of my background in warfighting and briefing and stuff like that. We basically prepared a brief for Com ISAF, who at the time was Pedreus. So every evening we had to prepare his brief to let him know what was going on in theater. So that's what the Navy guy did in Afghanistan for 8 months. But
good old Pedreus. Yeah,
it was a pretty cool career. I can't complain. Got to know a lot of stuff. And that's what I tell people now. I still work for the Navy, and they ask me what I do, and I say I get paid to know things. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks for joining, Harley Day Rider. See you in the morning. Those that don't follow, just so you know, he does his coffee with HDR on his channel at 8 o'clock in the morning for an hour. Don't want to miss it. It's a good time to hang out with people.
Cool.
Flip, I appreciate you jumping in there. Thank you so much.
Oh, did we lose him?
I think he signed off unless he lost connection.
Yeah, he was on his phone, so that's a possibility. So like I said, I'm up.
Yeah, you're next.
I took the scenic route. So I actually was OSA, one station unit training. Those in the chat know what that means. I went in as a 51 Romeo interior electrician, and part of doing OSA at Fort Leonard Wood was if you had an engineering MOS, which that was one, you also went through 12 Bravo combat engineer training. So I got to the end of my training, and one thing you learn about me, math and I, not so hot together. I can do long division in my head, but you start talking about geometry and all that stuff, and you lose me. So basically, I failed the final exam, and my instructor said, "You have a choice. You can retake the course over again." And,
they can't.
And if you fail out the second time, you'll be discharged. You'll have an honorable discharge, but you'll get a discharge, or you can reclassify. So I said, all right.
Real quick, Derek. Sorry, Flip. Can you hear us? Loud and clear. I apologize real quick though, Derek. I will stop.
Not at all. No, technical stuff.
Yes, sir.
Gave an outstanding. This was a gift I received. Thank you to that for him.
Yes, sir.
Cheers to everybody. Do this with some good old moonshine.
Slow motion.
So I ended up reclassifying into 44 Bravo metal worker, which is a fancy term for welder.
Cheers, brother. Love you, man.
I got to Fort Story in Virginia Beach, Virginia, which was one of my favorite. Yeah, I know. I remember somebody saying about Fort Eustis.
Fort Story's just down the road, man.
Yep.
Fort Story.
So most of my, I basically was put with a transportation unit. We had this thing called
love you, man.
We had this thing called larks. They're basically think of a huge clawfoot tub. It's basically an APC that's in the shape of a clawfoot tub with tires that are like 15 feet high, 15 feet tall.
There's one still sitting on Fort Story right down there by the beach right now.
Is there really?
Yeah, they have it. You know where the All Hands Beach is, or that's a joint base now. It's Navy Fort.
Oh, it is okay.
Joint Forces
Navy
Command
base, but it's joint
now. Yeah.
But my unit no longer exists.
Yeah, so the Larks are still sitting down there. Navy still uses Larks.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
they
cool,
do.
cool. I'm glad to hear that.
Especially if you know it's a little further south from there.
So we basically had mechanics and this, that, the other thing. Some 88 mics, transpo and stuff like that. And
thanks for joining, Andy.
Because I was thanks, Andy. Because I was combat engineer trained, guess who basically got tabbed to be the security expert for the unit. So whenever we went out for field training or anything like that, I typically was put as the head of the Op 4 team, which Toby, if you know what we've been talking about, that's where that came from. And then when we deployed, part of my unit deployed to Kuwait during Desert Storm. Well, the tail end of Desert Storm. I mean, it's still military. It wasn't during the actual, the 30-day war, but it was. But the military still terms it as Army still terms it as Desert Storm. So we were there. I was put in charge of security and all that. I'm not going to go into too much detail in an open forum. If anybody wants to know, just shoot me a message on Instagram or something like that. I'll talk about it. I'm just not going to do it in front of a whole bunch of people. But needless to say, it was not. It's not a great time. I served my country. I did what I had to do. Like I said before, I did plan on getting out and doing my 20. Getting out, going green to gold, coming back in and doing my 20. Life had other plans, and my experience over in the Gulf, that kind of played into it as well. But again, like I said, I don't regret it. One of the best decisions I ever made, and I definitely would change some things. But I definitely appreciate everything that it gave to me and taught me and all that good stuff.
Nice. So, Flip, welcome aboard. UCM Pig Style. So tell us.
Shipmate, he made it.
Yes, sir.
Who's got a train?
Yes, it's my shipmate. Yeah.
So I'm guessing we're guessing you joined the Navy. You came in through the Navy. Would you care
I
to
got
tell
a
us?
time delay. It's not me. I'm out here in the holler in friggin' North Carolina. I got no.
No worries. No worries. Anything you care to share as far as moments of the Navy
No
that you
trains.
have brought to you?
Go ahead, Toby.
Did you catch that? Did you hear that question?
Yeah, I went in same as a couple other guys here. The judge told me either you go in the Navy or you go in the service or you go to jail.
Anything that stands out to you from your Navy
And
service?
I said, well, since I have so many friends that were killed in Vietnam, can I go in the Navy? And they said, sure, go ahead. What's with the big time delay? It's killing me.
I don't know. But we'll move. We'll do this. So
Y'all need some more G's down there in North Carolina. You ain't got enough G's.
Hey, I remember the time that when I was down there at Fort Bragg when we were using AOL and dial-up service. So maybe he's still stuck on that.
Well, it's Fort Bragg. I still refer to it as Fort Bragg.
Exactly.
I won't refer to anything else.
Yeah.
Here's a question for all of you. This I think we'll get some good feedback on this.
I've been to Fort Bragg and Campbell.
Oh wow, yeah, yep. So how did you? What we have? So multiple different ranges of time frame and service. How did you stay in touch with your family and friends while
slow motion?
Or in the ocean on a deployment, or in the desert, or in Kuwait, in Europe, wherever you were in the Pacific? What methods did you stay in touch with family?
In 1981 through 83, we didn't have the cell phones.
Right.
So if I want to call home, there's a lot of collect call.
I was North Atlantic. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, Flip. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry. I was Navy North Atlantic, and we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have anything. My ship was decommissioned in 1982. So
Yeah,
So you were writing letters home. And
going along with what Flip's saying, when I first came in the
you
Navy,
want to hear a good story?
Go ahead, Flip.
You know how in boot camp you had to send your paychecks back home to the family?
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop talking.
No, go ahead. You got the floor there, Flip. I remember I did when I joined when I was in basic in 92. I remember reporting to a pay officer to sign for my paycheck. But go ahead.
Right, after $220 every 2 weeks, and then the money got sent home to the family to put in the bank for me. And then when I finally got leave after boot camp, A school, and C school, I didn't have no money in the bank. But my mama had a brand new boob job.
Somebody let the squid in. What's going on here, man?
Hey, we were just talking about boobs earlier, so
Go Big Red. Hey, she served in Korea. She deserved it.
So, hey, UCMPs, go ahead. We'll start with you as far as your communication and stuff. How'd you stay
Yeah, I
in touch?
mean, going along with what Flip was saying, you know, shipboard communications, I mean, it's advanced.
All right, y'all.
significantly. But my first deployment was on a ship that was commissioned in the 60s, and it was well before the internet and everything. And if we wanted to communicate home, it was pretty much a letter, or waited till you pulled in port and you could go out to a payphone and call from a payphone. But we also had one other thing that was really cool. There was always one sailor that was a ham radio operator.
Yeah.
And they would late at night go down to one of the radar rooms, fire up a ham radio if we were in an area that we could do that, depending on mission. And they would try to reach another ham radio operator stateside that was not only a ham radio operator, but what they call a Mars operator, where they could patch calls. And you could basically make a collect call over the radio. And it was, you know, I remember calling my wife. She remembers it. And it'd be, you know, hey, honey, over, you know, and it's just, you know, she would have to say over, and you had to be briefed about what you could and could not say. But just to give you an idea of the way it is now, you can update your Facebook status in the middle of the Med, in the middle of the Atlantic.
No kidding.
There's a lot of ships now have Wi-Fi throughout the ship. Phones, it depends on your job. I always had access to a telephone, but my last deployment in 09, I called my wife every night, told her good night. So
that's nice.
You know, that was just one of the benefits of the pay grade, I guess. But old Mars and letters. That's the way it was.
To you guys on the ship has come a long way, right? I mean, I remember I was reading where I had somebody, Navy guy was telling me at some point where they even at later in recent years, they've been flying college professors out to ships to give college classes.
Yeah, that's been going on since I've been in. They call it a PACE instructor, and they're usually a prior military guy that's now a college professor. And we leave Norfolk with them. So they leave Norfolk with us, and because when you're transiting the Atlantic, that takes about 8 to 10 days. So when you're not standing watch, he'll offer that personal offer classes. You can go down and take a class, you know, and they're usually like, you know, the maths, the Englishes, the stuff you want to knock out. I never did it. I was a watch stander, man. I stood port and starboard watches, 6 hours on, 6 hours off. I didn't have time for no college classes. But the other people we refer to as ship riders, which are all your supply type people that work 9 to 5. Yeah, they were all down there doing it. But the war fighters, we were standing watch, man.
Oh yeah. Doc, how about yourself? How are you staying in touch?
Well, let's see. I'll go all the way back to Operation Just Cause. For you young ones that don't know what that is, that's when we had the overthrow of Manuel Noriega.
Yep.
That was my first deployment. I'm that old. And I went in with the 82nd Airborne Division, and there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as cell phones. You had the good old pad and pen. And the only way you got a virus was if you sneezed on that paper and you mailed it home and you got somebody sick. You know, it's same thing with Desert Storm. You know, when I went to Desert Storm, it was letter writing. The internet really didn't kick in too high for me until like 03 in Afghanistan. I've been in a long time. I've done a lot of deployments. But you know, going forward to my last deployment, 15, 16, everybody had a cell phone. Everybody had a local phone. You know, to the point where the DoD actually outlawed the use of Pokemon Go because you'd get an 8-digit grid that was owned by the Chinese. So the Chinese would actually have an 8-digit grid coordinates for everybody playing Pokemon Go over in the Middle East. So, I mean, I saw technology, personal technology, go from pad and pen to, you know, cell phones and everything in my career, and it was amazing. But when I was in Desert Storm and Operation Just Cause and OIF-1 and OEF-3, I never wrote home. You know, I'm too busy. I'm you know, we're either, you know, fueling aircraft, launching aircraft, fixing aircraft, or I was flying missions. It was that simple. I mean, I didn't have time for none of that. I didn't want to have time for that because I didn't want to think about home. I wanted to think about the job at hand. I was there to do a job.
Yeah.
Okay. Made my loved ones at home a little concerned, a little worried, but at the end of the day, you know,
I actually pissed my wife off with that because when I went to my second or third deployment, whichever one it was, one of them, I told her in the beginning that she may not hear from me right away for several weeks until I get there and get a battle rhythm going, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, she wasn't happy about that.
I've actually gotten 4856s, which is counseling statements, in a bad way for not riding home. I sit there and say, "Are you kidding me? I'm too busy doing my job, making sure we're safe."
The old Red Cross message come in. Contact home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, haven't heard from him. Is he still alive? Yeah.
That was the thing. But yeah, man, you talk about you know, being cut off. You know, going back to what you were just saying, Toby. You know, on board ship, sometimes depending on our mission, we have to cut off all comms, and it could be weeks. And it's done like now, so you don't have time to say, "Hey, honey, I ain't gonna be able to talk to you." It's like gone for 2 weeks or whatever it is that we're doing whatever the mission is. I'm sure y'all have something very similar when y'all are in the field. You know, you're not going to be calling home or whatever. You know, doing stuff like that.
Real quick, Toby, thank you for the invite tonight. I do have to run. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, Dr.
Hey. To all of our veterans out there, happy Veterans Day. Remember all your brothers and sisters you served with, whether they're here or not. Much love, respect to everybody. Have a good evening. I gotta go.
Thanks, I appreciate your time, brother.
Enjoy your weekend. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service.
I gotta get out of here too, Toby. I just got the stink eye just a couple minutes ago, so I've been up here.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
My man, I do appreciate the invitation, and it was great talking with you guys. And
yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your service. I appreciate what you've done for us.
You as well. Thank you.
You guys hang in there. Good stuff.
Yeah, Toby, you missed me and Busted a while ago. You went back. Lolly asked what me and Busted did.
Yeah, I got that. I was going to come back to it after they were talking. Go ahead, though.
But no, I was.
Hey, answer a question. Hurry up.
Okay, I was a 52 Charlie, utility equipment repair. I went in. It was air conditioning, heating, but I ended up working on washers, dryers, anything in the field, generators, stuff like that on the electrical system of generators. But my permanent party was at Fort Ward, California, 519th Maintenance Company, 707th Maintenance Battalion, 7th Infantry Division.
Nice. Busted?
I enlisted as a 13 Bravo field artillery cannon crew member. Of course, in training, you do everything. Whenever we were actually doing live fire mission or training, I was the RTO / driver, which was great because then I had a cab to sleep in. Everybody else slept in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Then whenever I got back from Iraq, I changed my MOS to 61 Bravo, which that later changed itself. Army changed it to 91 Bravo.
Okay. Mechanic.
Wheel vehicle mechanic.
Heavy wheel vehicle mechanic, yeah.
And then I added the Hotel 8 identifier on the end of it, which is recovery.
Recovery, yep.
And I love the recovery side of it.
I bet that came with its ups and downs.
Just depends on the day. Like we went to Camp Ripley, Minnesota. 3-day convoy to get up there. Well, being recovery, you're the last ones to leave.
Yep.
And
you're the tail gunner in the ride.
We had several companies, because we had the infantry companies that we supported. We had our own company. We had to be behind all of those. Well, one of the infantry companies stopped every hour for at least an hour because they needed water in their air-conditioned Humvees. They were getting too hot. It took us 13 hours to go, maybe 4 hours. We didn't roll into where we were supposed to stop for the night until like 3 o'clock in the morning, which was about the time that some of us got up so that we could be at formation on time.
Yeah.
That first night, there was 3 of us slept on the back of my wrecker, and one guy had packed away some beers. We're supposed to be drinking, but fucking we earned them that day.
It was general order number 1 over theater.
Oh yeah. Hey, a beer can fits, or 2 beer cans fit perfectly inside a Pringles can.
Yes. I won't say how I know that or where I heard that from, but hey.
I mean, yeah, I was told about it.
Yeah. Heard it from a friend, asking for a friend.
Then we had a little Haji kid we'd go by Jack off of, and Captain Morgan in Iraq.
Absolutely, Flip. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Hey, Toby, I'm going to have to hop off here now, too. So
okay.
Thanks for the invite. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing some of your stories
out there. Thank you. Like I said, I didn't get to see any combat or anything overseas, but
doesn't matter.
Hey,
it does not matter.
I look at it this way. I stepped up.
Yeah.
So
XAN is as I said before, and UCM Pigs shared a great picture, and I further shared it on Instagram today. It was a photo of a blank check, and it was written out the United States branch of service or whatever. It doesn't matter whether you deployed. It doesn't matter whether you saw combat. It doesn't matter whether you went overseas. It doesn't matter what station or military location you went to. You still committed to it and said, hey, if you need me, I'm here.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Well,
so
that's
thank you so much for joining me.
That's like the way I am today. If I was in a convenience store and saw it getting robbed, and if I was in a position to take down the guy from behind if he didn't see me, I'd probably step up and do it.
Yeah.
I'm just that kind of guy. So
thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Very much so. Thank you.
Yeah. Later.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
So I will share the link again for anybody else in the live chat who wants to join.
Where'd McStash go?
He messaged me and said that he couldn't make it tonight. So if there's any other military veterans in, and you know what, in this case, at this point, we've been going for 2.5 hours so far. Thank you so much for everybody who's joined. I will open this up to if there's any people, if there's anybody in the live chat who are family members of military who would like to join as well, you're welcome to.
Yes.
But
no veteran serves alone.
Right. Absolutely. They don't serve without. Yeah, exactly. So I will ask this though. So I've got I have several other questions, and I figured I probably wouldn't get through a lot of them, but these are the ones that were kind of more into the stuff, into the mix, so to speak. But we'll start with you, Busted, on this. As far as you went 13 Bravo, and then you went. I was a 42 Alpha, 75 Bravo before that, which converted the personnel, the S1 guy that messed up all your evaluations, awards, and promotions and pay. So,
Okay, yeah.
but I was one of the things I was always working towards was understanding a lot of. I mean, I made it a point to try to know what every job in the Army was. Maybe not understand the function, but know what it was in relation to the unit. So. I know that going from 13 Bravo to a 91 Bravo, unless you have like a strong aptitude for it, that can be a challenging.
Well, I wanted to be a mechanic whenever I enlisted anyway, so.
Oh, there you go. So what stands? What's something that's from your time as a 13 Bravo and into the time as a mechanic? Is there something that stands out to you the most about the jobs that you did?
Well, the funny thing is about being field artillery is it's not a needed MOS in most theaters anymore.
Yeah.
So we get to play MP while we were overseas too.
Yeah.
And there were some people that got the MOS out of that. Some of us didn't. I don't know who it was they were on their knees for, but.
No, I knew when I was at Fort Campbell before we went to Iraq, we had 5th Battalion, 19th Special Forces group join us as a company. One of their companies joined us as an additional, and they had a whole detachment of cooks. And if you guys know that over there, depending upon what FOB you were on or whatever you were on, most of the locations were contracted out by Brown and Root or somebody. So
yeah,
cooks were really not needed. So every one of those National Guard guys went to infantry training and became 11 Bravos and got that as a secondary MOS. And then they joined and were security forces for some of our locations. They were gate points and stuff like that. So it was.
Well, all of our people, I mean, our cooks worked in the talk a little bit. They worked. We had an old mechanic. Dude was bow-legged. I mean, but somehow every single morning he'd climb to the top of the bathhouse while we were overseas. It was the bath party, not like taking a bath, but the bath party, which was 8 stories.
Yeah.
8 stories. He would walk to the top of that every single morning and check the radios. And then he'd do it again at night. And then sometimes he carried batteries up there. And I don't know how he ever carried a battery anywhere.
Nice.
So everybody was doing something while we were deployed. Well, I can't say that because for 6 months, 2/3 of my platoon sat on our butts.
Yeah.
Because we ran Tier 1 PSD overseas, and we had a principal that did not want our presence because we guarded the Iraqi government.
That's always fun.
But if they were ever in trouble, we had to be on standby.
Of course. I mean, what you described there, and I'll use a movie term for this for Hollywood for those in the live chat. Thank you. We still have, with the 3 of us, there's still at least, almost there's 11 watching, which might be 3 of us included. So, but thank you. But from what you're talking about there, an example of when he says the Tier 1 PSD stuff, and then the only time that you still had to be on standby was in case that personality was like, oh, now I need help. And a great example of that would be if you go watch the movie 13 Hours, when the contractors and dudes were at that base camp, it wasn't important, and security and all the stuff that was going on over there was not important until all of a sudden the shit hit the fan, and now they needed them.
Yep.
So I get that. But Salty Badger, thank you to your daughter. Congrats for being that combat medic, 68 whiskey. That's a no joke, especially they were heavily relied upon during the pandemic years.
Mm-hmm.
So what about you, Derek? Throttle Fiend, what was something that stands out to you, not like a leader or an NCO, but something from your jobs that you did that just stands out.
I got to do a lot of side projects. Being the only welder in the unit, I got to do stuff that wasn't exactly on the books. One of my buddies, Jimmy, had an old beat up Wrangler that the bumper was more rust than it was metal. So I welded on some angle iron for a bumper for him. Took a bunch of 50-gallon drums, cut them up, and made them into barbecues, stuff like that.
They were the plastic ones, weren't they?
No, they were metal. They were metal. Yeah, that would have been really interesting if they were.
I've seen the picture out there on Facebook, so it has to be true, right?
It's got to be. It's like, Top, I'm not feeling so good. I'm seeing things. Then, like I said, just leading the op4 missions. Being mostly in a transportation company. It definitely was different. I mean, it's really funny. Like I said, I didn't go into everything, but long story short, when I met my recruiter, and took the ASVAB and all that, and was at MEPS to pick my MOS, I told him I wanted the most amount of money for college and the shortest term possible. So I actually
that's like saying I want a 2023 CVO with all the trimmings
for $5,000
for less than $500 a month.
Right. I actually, when I signed up, I was actually 19 Delta Cav Scout, but I had I had braces on my teeth, so I missed my. They didn't come off until after, so I actually did, and that's when I reclassed into the 51 Romeo interior electrician. Which, looking back, maybe I should have stuck with that because they probably made a lot more money. But yeah, I mean, just overall, for me, it was more about the people I met and the things I got to experience and stuff like that. Nothing really other than just individual things. Like I said, and take some old angle iron and and making and then making the barbecue pits and all that stuff like that. Wasn't a whole lot for me to do and I think that's one of the reasons why they leaned so heavily on my combat engineer background, because there was, unless there was something wrong with one of the Larks, there wasn't a whole lot for me to do. So,
okay. So I'll ask you both a couple things here. Yeah, there you go. So Willow says he was offered $5K for a 2019 Iron 1200. Oh, that's something different. I thought he was talking about he was offered $5K by a recruiter. It's like if a recruiter offered me a motorcycle out the door, I think I'd be jumping all over that.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, hey, let's get out the cash and start doing the material stuff. That's what I'm saying.
Well, as long as it wasn't like a beat up Honda Rebel 250 or something.
Absolutely.
Dude, I took my rider's test on a 250 Rebel. That was the loaner from the dealer. So you'd roll into the throttle and it wouldn't move. You went just a hair more and it was full throttle.
Yeah, right. So I'll ask you both something a couple of, and I'm using these now because everybody's already left. I'm using these as kind of a guide just to keep on point with. So were there any specific, Busted, you talked about going from 13 Bravo to 91 Bravo. Derek, you talked about going from one, and then you were a combat engineer, and they kind of utilize that stuff. So outside, and then you said, Busted, that you went through Hotel 8 training. So outside of the job stuff like that, was there any training that they put you through that you're glad they did? Anything that stands out? Anything that you kind of really enjoyed?
Not really. I mean, everything that they trained us on that wasn't part of my job was, I want to call it basic soldier stuff, but something that everybody should have known, like how to set up a comm system, quick comm system, the VSAT system, which somehow I got tasked to fucking learn how to do.
Yeah.
And then they go, well, why won't it work? Well, because this password's 3 years old. Well, okay. It has to be changed every 90 days.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't used this for, I know, but it still knows what fucking day of the year, what day it is and what year. Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, the VSAT has to have its own little thing just to be able to provide what you're needing it for, but you have to update that. Yeah.
And then we fucked around. We got a password, got a new password, and they never used it. I'm like, see, this is the reason why this shit's stupid.
And that's why everything has a dummy plate on it.
Yeah, right. God. Let's see. So did either of you? So this would work in, as you said, Derek. Again, we don't care. I don't care. The questions are designed for whatever. So whether it's Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan, I was in Bosnia, whether it's in Europe, in any kind of exercise or deployment, did you guys interact with any civilians over there that were indigenous or others that made an impact on you that you can still remember, that you can share about?
Oh, not like that, but we had a couple interpreters that we worked with that were pretty fun people to hang around. But I mean, as far as made an impact in how they were, no, it's just they were fun to be with. And then you had the few female terps that were actually decent looking. So,
well, okay. So when I say they made an impact on you, I'm just talking about that could be anything. You say that they were some funny guys or whatever. They shared some stories.
Oh yeah.
So
then we had the guy that cut our hair on FOB was actually an engineer in a refinery, is what he did before we came in.
Wow, yeah. So was it just me, or whenever you went to, and because we processed through Kuwait also, Derek. So I can tell you, you guys tell me when you went through those reception points, or like with the barbershop or whatever the case might have been, they always had that funky smell. Was I alone over that?
Smell so much. Where'd you go through at in Kuwait though? Buring?
I want to say, what's that?
Buring or Muring?
That sounds right. It was shit. It was
a long bus ride from
you read my mind, because I was like, I remember it was a long bus ride from the freaking internet, the airport there. Yeah.
Oh God, that was horrible.
You guys got to ride a bus. We had to take
those 1 liter bottles of water before you even got on the bus.
Oh my God. No, we got because I went through there for staging at one point, but I also went through there I also went through there on a return from a Red Cross message, because a family member of mine died when I was deployed. And when I went through Kuwait, and then they took the airport there. I can't remember what it was called, but holy crap, we went to the airport. And I'm like, I don't read Arabic. It was all over the place, and it was huge.
Well, we just went from the plane, taxi down the runway. They just fucking parked in the middle of nowhere. We all deplaned. Yeah. We hung out there for an hour while we drank 2 1 liter bottles of water at night. Then we got on buses and we rolled out of the airport. We never went into the airport. So, and then it was kind of horrible, because can you imagine what 45 people fit on one bus? 45 people having to piss.
Yeah.
And oh no, we can't stop. It's too dangerous. We're in fucking Kuwait, damn it.
Ain't nothing going on here. It's busy, but I mean, it was around the time frame that Derek's talking about. There were some challenges going on.
We're in Kuwait City. Actually, when we first got there, like you busted, we didn't actually get to go into the airport. same thing, just kind of tax it off somewhere, and then we're thrown into deuce and a halves. Again, like I said, not my entire unit didn't go. Only certain people were selected, and so we got to, and we went to, and I don't remember the city that it was in, but we stayed at the Kobar Towers, which really fucked me up because like 6-7 years after I got out, they were bombed, and I was like, if we had been there. But we were there for a short time. The only real interaction we had with civilians there, they had a Domino's pizza. So every couple 3 nights we'd get a Domino's pizza, and
that's the one.
Tasted somewhat.
I just googled it. The one that is Ali Al Salim Air Base. That's the one I think I remember that stands out.
And then we ended up after a little bit. I think we were in Kobar Tower for about a week, and then we went to Kuwait City. And then we left out from there and came back home when we were done.
That's no joke. Frogzilla, yeah. There's people out nowadays. It's crazy what they're offering them to come in.
Oh yeah,
it's nuts. The enlistments are down pretty badly, but.
So they're getting sign-on bonuses, and they're getting like $100,000-$200,000 for college.
First duty station, choice of assignment, and all sorts of stuff.
I got $20,000 and was told needs of the Army.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let me remove that banner. So either of you, and this might fall more towards busted, but Derek also, my son asked me this question as far as the multiple stuff, but did any of your exercises, deployments, and Derek, I'll throw this at you as well, because I know back in the 80s and 90s when the Gulf War was over with and that lapse between the Gulf War and 9/11, it was like we were always, hey, we're training for. Mm-hmm. So whether it was a deployment or exercise or anything, did any of them differ from more than one from the other, or did one of them, oh my God, this one really stands out, this exercise or anything?
I only had the one deployment, so.
But you had other exercises, right?
Oh yeah, just your drill or your.
That's why I say. I mean, it's and that's why I asked that question from that perspective, because we all know whether you're deployed or not, the trainings and stuff to lead up to anything that you're doing, every one could be different. Is there anything that stands out? Anything that was different from any of the others?
I only got to do one AT as a cannon crew member, but it was fun. The one AT that stands out as a mechanic, other than that, I wasn't ever a mechanic on this AT, was the whole BSB went down to Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. And my entire job for 2.5 weeks was to load Humvees on the back of flatbeds to ship back to Illinois.
No shit.
Yeah. For 2.5 weeks, I loaded me and 2 other guys. I think we loaded out of we had to run 3 shifts, but of course I was on day shift and it was the busiest one. And I'd say we loaded every bit of 80% of all the trucks that came through that were for Humvees. Then we, of course, we had the step decks that were for the bigger trucks.
Yeah.
But the contractors we worked with,
no joke. I've been part of that stuff with rail heading and all that kind of stuff. Depending on where you're loading them into, and there's a lot of technical problem that can happen with there.
I didn't have to worry about any of the technical stuff. I just had to drive. Every once in a while, they would bring them up to us, and then we'd still drive them up the ramp and on the back of the flatbed. and we got to know the contractors we were working with pretty good. And they took us out to Hooters one night, me and the other two guys that I worked with, and they said, "All right, well, it's on us." It was just two out of four of the contractors, and I think we ran up like a $200-300 bill, just us three, on beer and food.
Nice.
And they go, "All right, well, it's on you till we get back. We'll be back here in a little bit. We got to pick up the other guys. We got to go back and shower, all that stuff." All right, so we sat there and we drank another couple $100 worth of beer, and they came back and we hadn't paid our tab yet, and they go, "Oh, don't worry about it. We got it." And then we proceeded to drink another $200-300 worth because beer's not cheap at Hooters.
Hey, what are you gonna do? You're there, so
Yeah.
Yep.
Said it was okay.
How about you, Derek?
Logistics.
I actually had two. We did also deploy to Port-au-Prince, Haiti for 2 weeks. More of like a humanitarian thing. And I will say that some of the most beautiful crystal blue waters I've ever seen, but unfortunately, just an absolutely devastated country. For lack of a better term, because I'm drawing a blank, the poverty there is real. Not a whole lot other stuff. I mean, obviously being in the Gulf was different, but as far as like all the training back in the States, we always just planning for, like you said before, planning for,
absolutely.
training for. I mean, I was out before 9/11. I actually was on my way. There was a job fair at the War Memorial. They changed the name of it, but I'll never call it anything but the War Memorial. There was a job fair at the War Memorial that day. So while everybody was watching the news and all that, I was shower shaving, printing off copies of my resume, this, that, the other thing. I pull up to the parking lot at the War Memorial, and dude's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm here for the job fair." It's like the Twin Towers just got hit. It's been canceled. Yeah. So I came home and sat in horror, just like everybody else did, watching the news for the rest of the day. And then obviously the Pentagon got hit, and the other plane that went down in Pennsylvania, in the field in Pennsylvania. But no, just basic getting ready. I mean, I could see if I was in a true combat unit, it might have been different, but being in mostly transportation, I mean, very few, if any, people had any other experience other than transportation there. So wasn't a whole lot to it.
Okay. Yeah, the other questions that I had lined up are more towards the transition, going from, but now my son did a great job with these. He started with, the early stuff, what brought you in, what got you through.
Yeah, I was going to say, next time you talk to Ben, tell him I said, I know he and I have never officially met, but tell him I said, great job with these questions. They're awesome.
Yeah. He really did a great job with these. Cause he had some structured questions he had to, I'm sure they provided him or start with to get the mind rolling. But the others, he just kind of, I'm sure he brought them up. He made them himself. And he was very adamant on, you don't have to answer anything you're uncomfortable with. You don't have to answer anything, if it violates your NDAs or your, security clearances or whatever. But I'm kind of regretting not asking these earlier for everybody, because like this one here for you guys, was it difficult when you guys both got out of the military? Was there anything that rings a bell or stirs as far as it was difficult to adjust to?
The getting home from Iraq. Every once in a while this day, I'll be walking and I go trying to look for my 9mm.
Yeah.
Or, okay, we're good.
A little bit different for me living in New York, being a male in New York. It takes pretty much an act of Congress to get a pistol permit. So I
no, I'm talking about my weapon overseas. Whenever I got home, I kept looking for my.
No, that's what I'm saying, man. I don't.
I kept looking for
I don't own or
Beretta
carry.
on my leg.
Right? No, I don't own or carry here in New York because I mean, I actually, as I said before, my father's a retired sheriff, so I actually asked him about that years ago, and he said your best bet if you're looking for home security or something like that, he said either one of two things: buy yourself a shotgun or a BFD, big fucking dog. We don't have space for a BFD, so I haven't been able to bring myself to purchase any type of rifle or anything like that. I'm hoping that we're looking to move hopefully within the next couple of years once my wife finishes with her school. She's an RN now. She's going for her BSN, possibly her master's in nursing. Our employer pays for all of it, so we'd be stupid to leave because it's like $70,000, if not. But no, my biggest thing is just how trivial things make. I mean, we're all civilians now at this point. I mean, I know once a service member, always a service member, but just little things that like people are just. I don't remember who told me this, but years and years ago, somebody said to me, another fellow veteran, they will never understand, and there's nothing you can say or do that can help them understand. And I kind of feel that that's, especially now as I'm getting older, which we might get into this. I don't know if it's a further question, but I'm having a lot of health issues due to my time in the service. And people just, they don't understand. My hearing is shot. I actually, I didn't mention this to anybody else earlier, but so I did in the chat, but I actually got hearing aids earlier in the week. I'm 51, dude. And that's why I have to wear headphones, because if I don't wear headphones, I won't be able to hear you. And that's the smallest of my health issues. So just, people not putting in the requisite effort. I'm always it's a we, not me. And I'm always willing to go the extra mile. And when people don't, it pisses me off because, no matter what the mission is, you're all working towards a common goal, and that's the way it should be, but it's not.
Yeah. You were saying, you were also going to say, Busted.
I
thought you were. Maybe
I just have a question for you all. Have you ever went on Google Maps and looked to see if you could figure out exactly where you were overseas?
Yeah.
I did. I don't recognize any of it. It's changed so much.
There's a lot that's changed about mine, but I've actually pulled it up just now to look at it again for shits and giggles. One of the things that happened while I was overseas was Saddam was found.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember if he was found while I was there and then tried, or if he was just tried. But that was right next to our fob. Like we shared the seawall. Wow. Like if I was up on top of the bathhouse whenever he came in for trial, I would have seen him walking in.
So when you said this earlier, I think you tried to make some distinction. When you say the bathhouse, you're talking about like the bath party, right?
Yes, the bath party headquarters.
Yep.
I've actually got it pulled up.
We drove past. We rode past. I was in the first rotation Iraq. I was at Bayat. It's called they're all tongue twisters over there, but it was Radwania Palace Complex, and it was basically there was a palace up on a hill. You can look it up on Google Maps. It's on there, Radwania Palace Complex, and it was a palace that Saddam built for one of his wives. No shit. And so initially we had that place as kind of like a headquarters, and you go down the hill. It's like a spiral type deal. And there's it used to be at the time of at the height of its glamour was like a zoo that he built and gave to that wife.
Oh,
and
hell.
We turned some of the, what's that?
We were not too far from the zoo.
Yeah. We turned our guys turned some of those locations or areas into small arms firing ranges. And
Oh no, this was the actual zoo. So
no, we didn't. Yeah, the zoo we left that thing alone. It was inside the compound, but you could see there were, water points and lakes and little man-made structures that were built for like lions and all sorts of crap that was there, whatever they put there.
no, I'm talking about the actual Baghdad Zoo.
Oh, okay. No, that wasn't it. This was just some little small. When I say little, relative to a gift to somebody that a guy like that could do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Rabboni Palace Complex was on the southwest corner, probably a few hundred meters off of the southwest corner of the Baghdad International Airport.
Okay.
So
I was in Baghdad.
I agree with you, Salty Badger, 100% on that.
I was within the green zone, but I was in Baghdad. Let's see. I'm looking at the map now. See if there's anything. Actually, right across the street from our fob was the Cross Sabers.
Yeah. Okay. I wish I'd been able to make it out to them. I didn't get to, but we drove past the going from our little fob over to, we passed by, oh shit. There was the bathhouse. At least that's what they said it was. The compound for that, the palace there. And there was one, it was the one where they used the damn, the freaking, they used the, damn. I had the name of it too. The missile that they used that went like straight through the damn building and just destroyed the entire place. It was one of the first ones they dropped.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it was a Scud. It was it was one of the, it was almost like a bunker buster where it didn't explode on impact. It went through the base of the building and blew up at the bottom.
Actually, that's what they did with the bathhouse too.
That's what I'm saying. That's what, I can't remember the damn name of the damn.
If you don't mind, Toby, I'll share my screen. I've got the bathhouse pulled up right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Willow's my thank you for joining.
But right there, damn near dead center, is the former International Bath Party headquarters.
Yeah.
And that big hole right there used to be something there.
Yep.
Other than whenever I was there was camo net that spanned that hole because there was Australian snipers up there.
Yeah.
And those guys could shoot. And we were in the green zone and they shot outside the green zone. And wanting to say, like, right here is the line, right where it kind of turns more south.
Yeah.
That was their main direction because that was towards Biop. Somewhere over here around the embassy.
Oh, man.
Oh, I think it was right. Oh, this is right here is one of Saddam's son's palaces, the Republican Palace. I went swimming in that swimming pool. And right here, right next to the Bath Party headquarters is the Republican Guard barracks. And this is where we stayed, in the one that's more north.
Yeah.
This existed, but it was kind of bombed when we stayed there. The one right south of it. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse or not.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was bombed out whenever we were there. And then, like, our chow hall was over here at the grab and go. We had a basketball court in this area. Little Haji DVD shop was in that area.
I'm going to step away real quick, gentlemen.
Sure.
I always do that.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've tried going back and looking a couple of times, and nothing looks the way it did to me. I mean, granted, I was over there too, so I mean, a lot's changed. But another thing that really gets me, and my my memory's gotten really bad. Like I certain things. I mean, I don't know if it's my psyche blocking stuff out or what, but I mean, certain important pieces of information that should be like that are just not there. And I don't know how much of it's the military, how much of it. I mean, I joke, but I'm not completely joking. I'm a 51-year-old in a 71-year-old's body.
I understand that. I'm 39, be 40 next year, and I'm every bit of 50 already.
No, I will tell you this: if you have anything, if you've checked the PAC DAC and the presumptives and all that, if you have anything, make sure you file.
I tried with the PACT Act, and since I wasn't already diagnosed with breathing issues, I was not qualified.
That's bullshit. I'm still waiting. I filed in when I got home, I had a skin condition that I'd never had before, and I was in my early.
Same.
I was like
With my
23.
feet.
Sorry, go ahead.
Said mine was with my feet. I don't know about where yours was, but I get these little water blisters all over my feet now.
Mine's pretty much anywhere on my skin, mostly on my arms and back and chest. But and it's not all the time. It's like, for example, I had a medical procedure done January, I want to say January or February, and they put they had to put me out for it, so they put the leads on me, for the EKG and all that, and then when they took the stickers off, it like welted up and it was there for like a week. And that was kind of how my skin was when I got back. And I'd never had that problem before. And now I'm early 20s when I get back, 23, 24. And I go to the VA, just to have it annotated in my record in case, 30 years down the road, my skin just starts, sloughing off and all that. And they look me up one side, down the other, said, there's nothing wrong with you. Kick me in the ass, said, get out of here. So I said, I'm done. I'm done with the VA. I didn't have anything to do with them for 28 years. And my wife was, you really need to file. You need to file. And then not with the PACT Act. And what really got me, one, really pissed me off, and two was the thing that made me want to do it is when they came up with the presumptives, the very top one at the top of the list is unexplained skin conditions. I'm like, you son of a bitches. So I filed in March. I had my CMP exams in August, and I'm just waiting to see what they say. I mean, I don't trust them as far as I can throw them. Like I said, my dad is a Vietnam veteran. He got shrapnel in both of his knees, got a Purple Heart. He's rated at 10%. He's met so many people. He's got other issues too, but there's a
shrapnel in both knees and only 10%.
Yep. He's got a retired full bird colonel that lives in his housing development down in Syracuse, New York, where I grew up. And he's like, that's unconscionable.
Yeah.
So
knees are kind of an important part of the body.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but he's had both knees replaced, and then he had to have his hip replaced. And I'm like, Dad, you know damn well that he and I have a difficult relationship. I'll just leave it at that. But we talked the other day, and I'm like, damn well that the reason why your hip went bad is because your knees are bad.
Yep.
And all
absolutely.
that. And so he's checking. I mean, and he's like, right now, basically, he's like the only thing that'll it seems like that'll work in my favor is either because he was exposed to Agent Orange. He's like, if I come down with either cancer or diabetes.
Sorry, gents, I had to step away there. I've been
So
holding off the call for a little bit.
Your banner across the bottom got me thinking of something else. Driving when you first come home from overseas.
Oh yeah,
dude, going through St. Louis, I changed 4 lanes of traffic going underneath an overpass, and then I went, "Oh yeah, I don't have to do that no more." And I was never a driver; I was the gunner. So,
in fairness, St. Louis is it's a very interesting city to
you
drive.
may have to do that in St. Louis, anyways. But
yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
I've only been through it twice, but.
Chicago's its own combat zone.
This is true.
Never been to Chicago. I was close. I did a Route 66 trip over the summer, and we were going out of I can't remember the city, but it was about an hour away from Chicago, and a bunch of people. And I ended up leaving late the night before to get there, so I didn't get to the hotel until like 3 a.m, and everybody else was up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. That was going to go to Chicago to get pictures with route marker 1 for Route 66. I was up at that point, but I said, "There's no way in hell that I'm going to be able to function." They ended up being gone the whole day anyhow, so it worked out.
Now, did you do the ride with the Badgers?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, they were smoked every day, just about with the temperatures they went through.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I actually didn't ride that. I drove it because I won't name any names, but a certain dealership that's not in my home state, I bought a Lowrider ST from, and they promised me that the bike would be ready in time for the Route 66 trip. Well, it wasn't. And this has been a bucket list trip for me since I was like 10, 15 years old. So I said, there's no way. I had already, paid for my entrance to the Badgers. I had already booked all the rooms, and McStash was rooming with me every night. So, I said, I'm not going to miss this. So, yeah, I mean, it was, even in an air-conditioned car, it was brutal. It was brutal. There was days where, got up to 120 without the heat index. It was bad. So, yeah, we were stopping just about every hour so that they could douse themselves in water and get get an energy drink or something just to hydrate themselves, get some electrolytes in them because it was bad.
A Gatorade.
Yeah, Gatorade, stuff like that.
You don't want to drink energy drink whenever you're getting dehydrated.
I meant to say, yeah.
I wanted to do that ride, and Route 66 is still a bucket list ride, as well as US 50, and I think it's US 36 or US 136. Both the US 50, which is literally right outside the window,
Yeah,
and either 36 or 136, I can't remember which, across the United States.
Yep. Yeah, I got my one
From
good
coast to coast, so they're on the list.
My good friend Jason, who I went to high school with, he and I have been wanting to do that for a while. It's a good thing you didn't go yet, though. If you do want to go, the best time to do it, because that was a caveat. My wife said you can go on the trip with the caveat that we'll do it together next year. A bunch of the places that we stopped at said, if you're going to do it, it's your call, but wait until 2026 because that's going to be the 100th anniversary of Route 66, and all the small towns are pulling out all the stops.
Okay, that'd be pretty cool.
You said next year, like in 24?
2026 is the.
Okay.
Yeah, Kristen wanted to do it next year, but then when I found out that they're doing the shindig on in 2026, that's when. What do you call it? We were going to do it we're going to do it that time. That being said, Route 66 in a lot of places is in poor repair.
Yes.
Probably what we will do is we will plan out all the different places we want to stop and see. We'll take the interstate because most of that, literally, you've got Route 66 here, and then less than 100 yards away, Interstate's right there.
Yeah.
So we'll take the interstate for the smooth roads, and then we'll get off at the stops where we want to see the things that we planned on.
I apologize, Derek. I was listening to you.
No, not at all. That was a natural stop. That was a natural stop for me.
Yeah, I was reading and listening, and
yeah, ditto.
No, I know.
About half of each.
That's fine.
Salty talking about losing tools and yeah, that was no joke.
Yeah, blisters were a big problem in the desert Frogzilla.
Yeah, it's just on the bottom of my feet is my problem. And I don't.
That's where I got most of mine.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, the water blisters that I have.
Oh, right now. Right. Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
If my feet sweat a little bit, it's almost like they plug up and I get water blisters, which I never had in basic. And you think that'd be something you would get since you're sweating at every point and every place you know you could sweat.
And you got nasty boots that aren't broken in yet. That's why I've been trying to look for a pair of jungle boots so bad, Toby. I miss my jungle boots. Miss my jump boots too, but I'd rather have a pair of jungle boots.
Yeah, they're the only place you're going to find those these days is in a surplus store.
Yeah,
they just don't. Even the clothing and sales don't even sell them anymore. They sell the desert boots.
So I bought these.
Not waterproof, yeah.
I bought these after I broke my leg because I needed more support, but I wanted something that was easy to take on and off.
Yep.
And I fucking love these boots.
Hey, the ones I had while I was in, I used my military boots that I had, all of them have the right toe with the black mark above the top left toe above the mark from shifting. Yeah. From the toe shifter.
The left boot.
That's true, Salty. That's very true.
This is true.
So now, Toby, when you say they only sell the desert boots, will they sell those to veterans, or do you have to be active duty to get those?
You got to be, because they're part of like issues. So if you go to clothing like a surplus store, then they've got them there all day long.
Right.
So
I had this weird thing about there's many things that I will wear that other people have for
other places.
boots, socks, and underwear or t-shirts. Unless it's somebody I know and trust. Those are things I won't do.
Jeez, I don't want no rubs. Okay. Welcome, G's. Thank you for or I don't want no rubs. Thanks for joining this.
Yes.
What you're missing, has been going on for the last few hours is this was a military veterans as live guests, and we've just been going over topics and discussions of our military experiences and what we went through, what brought us into the military and carried us through, and how we've been transitioning it through since. So, but Derek, like I said, it's not hard for me to get a hold of. You can shoot me a shoe size and I'll see what I can find down here.
Okay.
But it would be desert camo. It would be the desert khaki type boot. So
I'm not opposed to that. I mean, obviously I have an affinity for the OD green ones, but
yeah,
I
love those. I miss polishing those every day.
I was just about to say with the desert ones, I won't have to polish them.
I never had those. I had. Oh wait, yeah, I did. Mine didn't have the green. Mine was just the straight up black.
Yeah, I had a pair of green. I had a pair of OD green ones. I had a pair of black ones, and then I had a pair of the deserts. And I had a pair of jump boots. So I'd wear jungle boots whenever, But if we had to actually wear leather boots, that's when I'd switch to the jump boots.
The jungle boots with the green material are extremely hard to find. The black ones, I'd love either one of them, but the black ones were more routinely in the clothing and sales until they shifted over to the desert boots for the all-purpose uniforms, the multicams and ACUs or whatever. But yeah, you're not going to find. You're going to have to go to a surplus store or Google or eBay or something like that to find the jungle boots versions.
So that's weird to me. So if you've got somebody, because I'm assuming that everything that's standard issue now is digital camo, correct?
Because the multicams now are more of they kind of have so if you remember the Vietnam era camouflage, it was very tiger stripe-esque.
Yep.
The multicam kind of shortened to that striped look, and it's more of a blotchy looking type of deal with the different browns and different earth tones and stuff like that. So I mean, they're comfortable as shit in my opinion, but
that makes sense. I was going to say
what's that?
So it's a multicam OCP was what the military uses because multicam is trademarked, so they couldn't use that.
I got you.
And it's more of a dot than it is the digital.
Right. They don't do the digital thing. The Marines kind of have the digital piece. They're the ones that did the digital uniforms.
The green. Is it the green?
Yeah. Well, they didn't do really green. It was it's digital jungle type of look, and then they went to a digital desert type of look,
The digital desert was their summer uniform. I think they did the summer uniform.
Yeah. Digital stripes. Yeah, there you go. But then the Air Force and the Navy kind of copied us with the multicam stuff.
That's sweet. Make sure you put up some pictures or some video or something.
Oh, you just reminded me. So thank you. I'll share my screen on this one. I'm copying off of what Busted Knuckle did here with the sharing the. Here, I'll share the screen.
I was going to say I could share the new camo for the Army. I just pulled it up.
No, this is going back to the original conversation. So you guys see here, this was the Rabwania Palace complex.
Yep.
Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny because it's like this no shit was our location, and you had the entry point down here somewhere. This whole area was the complex, all of this. And like back here became the motor pool area. This, I think, was the zoo orchard area. We had some Quonset huts that were used over here. And after we left there, this was kind of I think this was the range area, I think is what we turned it into. Like test fires. We test fired the Humvee mounted miniguns. But it was so funny.
Can you get rid of Salty's comment down there?
What's that?
Can you get rid of Salty's comment down there while you're putting
Hold on. Yep.
I just want to be able to see a bigger screen.
No, you're good. My bad. It's a good point.
It's not blocking much, but
so yeah, this was like, and I'm trying to remember because I was there in 2007 to 2008. So
I was 05 to 6.
No, yeah, I was 04 to 05 was Afghanistan. 07, 08 was the first tour to Iraq, and then the second tour we were up north in Mosul to Tikrit, Cobb Spiker.
Okay.
But yeah, if you were to see this place, let me see if I can't find like pictures that they would show. See, from a distance, that's what it looked like. And the funny thing was, there you go. We used to have at the base of the castle. Can you guys see my mouse?
Yeah.
Yep.
So at the base of the castle, somewhere in here, I don't remember where, but it was around the backside or something. The foundation of the this was we actually turned this into the DFAC for the fob.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
you don't know what our DFAC was before it was our DFAC?
What?
It was the fucking morgue.
But yeah, it was. What did you say? That's not true. No rubs. Oh, Dallas, what's up, man? Thanks for joining.
The way I spelled Dallas.
Oh, that's not how you spell. That's hilarious.
How you doing, brother? Long time no see.
Hey, Dallas, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you jumping in here and joining us.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we if I had it up, I'd go back and look. And it's funny when you see that open room of the eagle up on the wall there. If I were to show you the pictures I've taken, it looks like a DFAC. I mean, they dressed it up just like the dining facility you used to see, and the whole little dessert section they tried to show or tried to create, and the serving area or whatever, and the tables. And
Ooh, excuse me.
we actually had so it was we actually we got designated as the MWR people for the base camp as well. And Toby Keith's crew came to Baghdad area for a performance, right? A USO performance or something. And the local civilian USO people called us and were like, hey, we don't have Toby Keith for you, but his band needs some entertainment, because they always take him out on the choppers, on the Blackhawks, on the UH-60s, on the Chinooks or whatever, out to FOBs to entertain the troops. And they basically take his band, set them in a hut in a base camp or whatever, and say, hey, chill out here for 6 to 8 hours while he's out entertaining troops. And so we were like, okay, bring him over here. We'll put him on a testing range and let him shoot a bunch of different weapons and guns and stuff. And they did that. They had a fun time. So
let's see.
No, I'm not name dropping, dude. That was just one of the fun things we got to have. First Full of Recos, don't talk about Fight Club.
On our
that actually us doing
we
that
were
actually
supposed to go, because Toby Keith he did an MWR tour while we were deployed.
Yeah,
we were supposed to go see him, except for that principal that never wanted us. Well, he may have needed us at that point in time. So we weren't allowed to fucking go nowhere. But the rest of the fucking company got the day off.
Damn.
Always the way.
So me and my squad leader were probably the biggest people that listen to country music in the platoon. So we sat outside the door to his barracks with a radio. Actually, I think it was my computer, loaded up with as much Toby Keith music as I could find.
Yeah.
And about a case of O'Doul's.
Yeah, here you go. So, for example, with him talking about name dropping, ain't name dropping, but let's see, as I was telling you about the DFAC, right? So this is what it looked like after, we got a hold of it for a dining facility.
Nice. Big flag right in the middle.
Love it.
Right.
Color-coded chairs and everything.
But yeah, we trying to find the other. Yeah, this was us trying to teach his crew, his team or his band and whatever, teaching them how to shoot. And then we had him, at the final, we actually got to link up with him.
That's pretty cool.
That's one of my biggest regrets is digital cameras hadn't been invented when I was in.
Yeah.
All I got are some film.
Biggest person I shook hands with was Colin Farrell, the comedian, not the actor.
Oh, shit.
And that was in Kuwait. And I'd forgotten about that until you showed.
It don't matter. It's cool whatever you get, man. There you go. That's the name to drop right there.
And speaking of which, where the hell is that extremely nice guy? I figured he would have been in here bullshitting at some
point. All right, so you know what? We'll go ahead and do this. It's been a little bit. We'll keep this going for just a little bit longer. And there you go. Dallas or Droop or anybody else, there's a link. I'm dropping the veteran requirement.
Dallas was too short to serve.
Oh, shit.
Come on, jump in here and tell me otherwise.
Right. I don't want no rubs, man. Hey, look, I don't care. Look, here's what I'll tell you this. When you're deployed, I don't care if it's Kuwait, I don't care if it's Europe, I don't care where it is. If a celebrity or anybody comes over to do something like that, a trooper doesn't give a shit if they're there for fame or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. It doesn't matter. If they went over there for fame or they went over there for whatever, if you were over there also, you saw if they went out there with the fobs and with the people individually, they still put their lives in danger. Whether they had a PSD, a security detail with them or not, they were still in danger. They were still at risk. So I thank any of those celebrities who came over for that specific in terms of that.
Yep.
Because in that moment that they performed, whether it was comedy, whether it was music, whatever it was, they made those troops feel appreciated, period.
Bob Hope was probably the biggest one.
Droopy tits and I just talk shit that Hell's on Two Wheels got like. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Oh, Hell's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of use the in full transparency, I kind of use the full on the filter effect, if you will, for this. I went trolling on Instagram pages that people that I knew, and anybody that had military referencing in there for their service or that I already knew, like yourself or whomever, I would send them the link and invite them and let them know. And it turned out like I thought. I probably invited 20 or 30 people. And as it turned out, probably 10 or 11 actually jumped in. It's okay. Everybody has their lives. I'm not knocking any of them, but
right.
If you want to get a good turnout, you kind of have to do that.
Yep. Well,
that kind of goes back to what we talked about before with, what Raider World was talking about, where, the military taught him to show up 15 minutes early. If you're 10 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
Yep.
I did the same thing with this. 2 or 3 weeks out is when I planned this, or based upon the interview with my son. And I was like, I need to get this out ahead of time. So the only reason I was late was I had some developing issues, some developing things going on for myself. So I will.
You were 2 minutes late, if that. I mean,
I will leave that at that. Come on, Dallas, where you at, man?
Oh, he won't jump in. He doesn't do lives no more. He doesn't like.
Well, that's the other thing is,
live a few days ago.
You could have 50 people in the chat, but not everybody's comfortable with being on camera.
Oh, absolutely. But I saw Dallas on a live not even 2 or 3 weeks ago.
He was on a live before his event down there in Tennessee.
That's what he says. We don't qualify.
The link still
I don't meet the
in.
criteria. So I captured him mopping up beer off a table in a hotel, and I don't meet the criteria anymore. It's all good, Dallas. I get it.
Frog, won't you jump in here?
Yeah. Hey, you got the link there. Come on in.
Healthy. If y'all want to join, the link's only like 5 entries up.
I'm also going to do this. I think I'm going to close this.
And since Toby's closing stuff real quick, just a quick shout out for those that aren't aware. On Sunday, we're going to have our first. We have a stream. Toby.
Oh shit! Thank you for sharing that, Derek. Yep, I forgot about that.
Christopher David Lawson of NEPA, Mr. McStash, Sinister Clutch, and Black Phoenix Entertainment, Sunday, 2:00. Just go to Christopher David Lawson's YouTube channel. Link will be there. And we do a live stream once a month, usually starting in November, through the
Salty, it's all good, man. You appreciate you joining us in the live chat regardless.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you
We're
here.
still going to give you shit, just so you
Appreciate
know.
it.
What's that?
So we're still going to give him shit, but
Oh, absolutely. If I show up, you're
it's
lucky.
kind of like a cop out.
Yeah. Tell us you're copping out without telling us you're copping out.
It's all good. It's all good. You were here. That's all that matters. We appreciate you.
I just appreciate you guys jumping on with us. I really do.
Definitely. Yeah.
But we're pushing on 3 hours and almost 30 minutes, gents. So, and still have 10 people watching, and 3 of us are probably on the screen. So, wait, what's this? I got to get some sleep. I know. Hey, I got some events I have to hit all day tomorrow. So, Dallas, I appreciate you joining us. Tweedle installed my brake lever where the clutch goes. Please tell me Tweedle did not do that. As mechanically inclined as he always talks about being. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I wasn't there. So, but yeah, at 3 hours and 30 minutes, I will, we'll call this a night. And Busted and Throttle, I appreciate you both joining and participating in this.
Been an honor and a privilege, gentlemen.
Thank you to every single veteran who both signed on and became a live guest and who joined in the live chat. I cannot thank you enough.
Yes, definitely.
I wish I could say more, but vets, we tend to, when somebody says thank you for your service, I'm one of those who I'm like, okay, yeah, it was my honor, and that kind of leaves it at that.
Used to taking shit.
Yeah. So again, I have no words other than to say to my brothers and sisters in the military that served, thank you so much for joining on here. Busted, Throttle again. Thank you for joining the live chat.
My pleasure.
Y'all enjoy a Veterans Day. I know it's, in my words, in my own opinion, it's one day does not recognize the gifts or the checks and the blank checks that were written on everybody's behalf. I'm also one who strongly feels another topic entirely, but tomorrow is for the living veterans. So I won't knock any other country because they do their way. They say the Remembrance Day, I think Canada, where they do both on the same day. That's cool, no problem. In our country, we have 2 separate days for it. Yep. And I say thank you to those who are living still and have served. So
yeah, because Memorial Day is for those who are no longer with us.
Exactly.
That's something I'm you know me, I'm as polite as the day is long, but that's one of those things that could just get stuck in my craw. I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
Don't thank a live veteran on Memorial Day. That's for those who are no longer with us.
Yep. I always say, don't thank me. Thank these 2 people that I personally served with.
Right. And that's what, just like Evil Rick says, I always say, thank those that didn't come back. They gave more than I did. So
yes, sir.
I do that. So again, gentlemen, thank you again so much for lasting this long, for sticking with the live stream. Busted, thank you for joining, no matter what time. I had no concern with that. But you all enjoy your weekends, enjoy your day, and y'all have a good night. Thank you so much to the live chat. I appreciate you all again.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us and being here, people.
Thank you for having me on. Questions were great. Ones I answered, the ones I didn't.
Well, I didn't even get to all of them, but it's all good, though. I'm just glad I could help people share a little bit about themselves and their military experience. So, but y'all have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.